Up this morning with prayer. Hallelujah. Father, we come before you in Jesus' name. And Father, we just praise you and thank you for this beautiful property that you've given us, for this absolutely fantastic church that you've given us, for these people that you've given us that serve you here, Father, for the pastors that we have. We are grateful and we are thankful. We are such a blessed group of people at Agape. And we just ask you as we go through this meeting today that we'll learn from it and that we will be better ministers to our congregation and to our pastors. And we just thank you. We thank you for this awesome opportunity that you have given us. We thank you that you've given us the opportunity to serve you. And we just praise you, Father. We praise you. We give you glory. We give you honor. We are so thankful for all that you give us. We just thank you for this new building that we have and the excitement we're going to have of getting that up and running. And we're excited about the days that we are entering, these last days, and for the ministry in the last days, and for the people that you are going to be sending to us to minister to. And we thank you that we will be ready for it. And we give you all the glory and the honor. In Jesus' name, amen. Hallelujah. I know most of you know me, but my name is Hansen, and I am Chief of Security at Agape. And this is Greg Payne. He's my Assistant Chief of Security. Yeah. And we are going to be going through our procedures for security. I'll give you a little bit of background. We actually started this about 2013 with just Pastor Mike and myself were the only ones on the team, and we started doing the security, and then we saw the need that we expanded. And in 2014, we came up with a security manual. I did a lot of research with a lot of different churches, a lot of different ministries, and we put together a security manual. Pastor Richard came on as our administrator, and he's done such a fantastic job. I just thank him so much. He's got us insured. He's got everything covered there, and we're really grateful for all that they have done, and that your pastors care enough about their congregation that they want to make sure everybody is protected here for everything, for somebody that just minor injuries all the way to something major to happen. And you might say, well, you know what, we're a church. Things like that don't happen. Well, my security team is briefed, and this is the things that have happened. And I'm not going to go through the whole list, but there's been 1,490 deadly incidences in faith-based churches. It goes through here on how many of them are robbery, how many of them are domestic, how many of them were guns, knives, all those types of things. So it does happen. And we need to be ready for that. And part of what we want to do is prevent it. We want to make sure that we can prevent these things so that they don't go into full scale. And so we thank you for coming to our all hands on deck security meeting today. Everyone involved in these services. Okay, Greg says if anyone has any questions, please wait till the end of the meeting. But everybody involved in these services today are part of the security team, providing for a safe and secure environment for the members and the guests at Agape. And that does include the greeters, the ushers, the parking lot security, the security officers, and the medical team. Each of these teams have their own department head and their own set of rules and procedures that guide them. But in the case of emergencies, and that's a but in the case of emergencies, when an emergency is called, all teams will be under the direction of the chief of security until the emergency has been rectified and an all clear sounded. So every one of you, whatever your department heads have told you, whatever you're supposed to do in your department, follow that at all times. But in the case of an emergency, then you will follow what the chief of security has to do during that emergency.
Okay, I'm going to go through the church's mission statement. If you want to follow along in your handout, we're on page 3. We're going to just go through a brief summary of it. The security department's goal is to provide for the physical safety and the security of the staff and congregation while present at the site of Agape Church. Objectives: provide a safe environment that is conducive in the non-exposure of the staff and congregation to potential harm of criminal assault. Observe vehicular and pedestrian traffic throughout the Agape Church campus. Prevention of loss by reducing purposeful damage, undesired entry, and property crimes. Prevention of loss via larceny and theft. Preventive attention to accident control, fire prevention, and general safety. Okay, next I'm going to move over to a security officer's duties. Okay, a security officer's basic role, primary functions are to protect and prevent crimes, offenses on the property of Agape Church. A security officer's focal authority is limited to the private property boundaries of the church property.
And that's important. Don't chase people off the property. And when I say don't chase them off, don't you leave the property. We are only working the property. It becomes illegal in some ways to pursue somebody further than the property. So all we're concerned with is removing them from the property. If somebody starts to run and they leave, let them go. Just get a good description of them.
Hey, Greg, what page are you on?
Page 4.
Page 4, thank you.
And at this time, could we have the video?
In my book, what's next is to fully understand that this is war, and you better be prepared to wage war to protect you, your family, and those around you if attacked.
A Florida sheriff sending a clear message on social media, urging people to arm themselves in case of an unseen attack.
His message has since gone viral. Brevard County Sheriff Wayne Ivey joins us right now from Palm Beach County. Sheriff, I watched the video yesterday, and in the beginning you say, I'm probably one of the most politically incorrect sheriffs in America, but your message is a potent one, and that is you've got to be ready because you don't know when somebody's going to come after you, right?
That's exactly right. The video was about preparedness. We want our citizens to understand that there's no way to predict where the next attack's coming from or even the next active shooter. So we want our citizens to be prepared to be the first line of defense, and that's what the video really spoke to.
Sheriff, what's the reaction from your community?
It's been very positive. In fact, yesterday we went through and looked at not only the comments but the likes and dislikes on it, and less than 1% of the people that were on our Facebook page, or about less than 1% disliked it. Everybody else loved it, and the comments were overwhelmingly positive.
You know, we're watching London, we're watching Paris, we're watching Brussels, and we see the average American, the average citizen of that country are sitting ducks. They become victims. And then we think about Orlando a year ago today. Victims just sitting there because the terrorist has the gun. You want to stop that.
I do. You know, it's the best law enforcement agencies in the country have response times in minutes, but a violent criminal can take their life in a second. So we need our citizens to be well prepared, to have already thought about their emergency plan. If they're a concealed carry holder, carry their gun with them. It's not doing any good at the house or in the car. Carry it where it's allowed to be carried. And no matter if you're somebody that carries a concealed or don't, have a plan. Have a secondary weapon, or even look to environmentally arm with things that are in the room or in your immediate environment.
That's a good advice.
Yeah, these terrorists don't want you to fight back, so you got to be able to put them on the defensive.
They not only don't want you to fight back, they're not prepared for you to fight back. They are there being the attacker, and when somebody turns it on them, their plan falls to pieces.
No kidding. All right. Sheriff Wayne Ivey joining us today from down in Florida. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you for your service.
There's a couple important things in there. One, you can hear that in the city, the response time for the police department is probably 3 minutes to 7 minutes before they're there. We're not in the city. We're in the county. And it can be 10, 20, maybe even 30 minutes to get a sheriff here. So that's why we have a team here that is prepared to take care of it until we get law enforcement officers here. Very important. And another important thing he said there is these people who are out to harm us, they aren't expecting us to do anything. So the fact that we are ready is already going to throw them off guard. And what I do, I want to just let you know on how, first of all, we're going to start with the greeters and how important you are. You know, you think, well, gee, I don't do much. I just greet people at the door. No. Greeters are the eyes and the ears and the first contact for people entering one of our service. Although your primary focus is to make people feel welcome and loved at Agape, you are also in the perfect position to spot something that seems out of place. And I can't stress how important you are. Anything that looks suspicious or any safety concerns that you see, please contact an usher immediately or someone at the information table who can contact the security member. At the information table is a radio. So you can always go there, grab that radio, and ask for some assistance. But you guys are important. You are very important. And I'm going to just go over one real tiny incident where you guys stopped a problem that could have happened. The greeters met somebody at the door that they were suspicious about. So they were asking suspicious questions, where's the pastor's office and things like that. And so they told an usher. The usher then talked to that person. He was uncomfortable with that person. So they came to us armed security. And the armed security sat down next to the person in the front row. And during the service, the guy opened his jacket and he had a knife. And the armed security marched them out of this service with no one knowing. Service went on. Pastor didn't even know until afterwards. We don't know what he was going to do, whether he's after the pastor or what. He did have a knife, though. Marched him out of this service with nothing happening. That's what we want. Had the greeters not seen that and told the ushers, and the ushers not told the security people, and if he was here to harm the pastor and he pulled a knife and came after the pastor, we would have a big mess here. So nothing happened because you did your job perfect. That's the way we want it to happen. We don't want to ever have anything happen here because we want to catch it ahead of time. So again, don't think that you're just there to shake people's hands. And that's the important part, to show love to people. But you are also our eyes and ears, and you are very, very important to us. So we're going to start out and we're going to go through each of these things so each one of us know what the other people are responsible for. And in our armed security department, we operate on what's called a move-up system, which means when the chief of security or the assistant chief of security are not on the property, one of the other security officers, armed security, will assume that responsibility, and they have been trained to assume that responsibility. It is imperative, if any incident involving the safety or security of our members occur, that a security officer must be, listen to that word, must be notified. They have been instructed by the church administrator, Richard, to document every incident, however large or however small. We want to be called from falling and scraping a knee to a major heart attack, because we have been trained to document every single incident for the protection of Agape and our visitors. So it's important that we document everything that's ever happened here. We have documented there. And we've been trained to do that, so call us, no matter what it is. We'll decide whether it needs to be documented or not. But either one of our armed security or Richard needs to be there to document on what happens. So the basic description for Chief of Security, job description is to ensure that the biblical qualifications of a deacon, as listed in 1 Timothy 3:8-10, are upheld in my life and in the life of all who serve on our team. We work with the elders and the deacons to develop and establish and document the policies and procedures for the security department. And so that's important. We don't just make this stuff up. It goes through the board. It goes through the pastors. To train and continually brief security department leadership on the policies and procedures and current issues relating to their responsibilities. So we meet with people. We let our team know these different threats. When there's a threat around, we let them know that this has happened at this location or something like that, so that they're briefed. And then it is also my responsibility to maintain files on all our security officers, including copies of their current concealed carry weapons permit.
Okay, I'm gonna go back briefly over the security officer's duties. I started into it, but we had the video that jumped in, so we're gonna jump back over it. And if you wanna follow with me, we're on page 8. Down under A, and the security officers. Give you a second to go ahead and turn there if you wanna follow along. Okay, all security officers carry concealed weapons, including off-duty and retired police officers, must go through a training program and live fire on the range with their weapon and maintain a current concealed weapon permit. Be approved by the board of directors or the church administrator, which is Pastor Richard. Be recommended by the chief of security and the assistant chief of security, administrative pastor or lead pastor. Down to B, duties. Always carry your proper concealed weapons permit and Agape Church identification badge. You want to pull yours out? On that badge here, it says security, armed security for Agape. So all security officers that are armed security will have one of those. If they don't, see one of us. Always check in with the chief of security and pick up a radio. Provide escort for worship service offering as needed. Introduce the speaker protection officer when requested. Respond to calls as requested by the chief of security. Take appropriate actions as directed in this policy or as reasonably required to fulfill the goals of this policy. Procedures for main worship center protection. One usher security person shall be assigned as a speaker protection officer. And I believe that's Aaron on second service. Also called the point man. For each service Sunday, the speaker protection officer is responsible for the personal safety of the main speaker. The speaker protection officer shall be equipped as follows. Dressed in normal church attire, no sandals, tank tops, or shorts. He also has an identification badge and OC pepper spray, which is available in the security office. The security protection officer should back into the reserved parking space in front of the worship center. This will afford a quick getaway if the speaker needs to be removed from the church facility. Place cones to reserve adjacent space for the second service speaker protection officer. Number 3, the speaker protection officer should arrive at least 15 minutes prior to the beginning of service and plan to sit in the front row on the right east section. You want to point that out? Where he's to sit. And his family, if he so desires. And near to the exit door. Very good. The speaker protection officer shall check in with the chief of security upon taking his post. Number 4, the speaker protection officer shall connect with the chief of security and be introduced to the main speaker. Speaker shall be advised of his seating location and advise him that if there is any danger arises, that he should immediately make his way to the speaker protection officer. So we've got all kinds of stuff there that's covered just in case something does arrive and they feel unsecure. They got a place to go and somebody to protect them and to get them off the grounds real quick. Number 5, the speaker protection officer shall not leave his post for any reason except to handle a situation in the worship center, or he could be related to the main speaker. Someone running towards the front of the church shall be a threat to the speaker and action should be initiated. Number 6, upon completion of the first Sunday morning service, the speaker protection officer shall escort the speaker to the predetermined location as requested by the speaker. Upon completion of the final service, the speaker protection officer shall remain in the vicinity of the speaker until he is satisfied that no danger exists. Procedures.
One of the things that I want to mention on the speaker protection officer position, this is a position that we've had a little problem with. we want to make sure, we've had people say, well, I want to stand in the back, or I want to stand over here, or I want to be over here as a speaker protection officer. This is something that has been assigned by the church administrator, and we want to start seeing that followed. The speaker protection officer to sit where he's supposed to sit. When we had Dr. Carlson here, the speaker protection officer was over there, and at the end of the service, when all the people came forward, and there was no way the speaker protection officer could get there. I saw it from the back, and I crowded my way through. But the speaker protection officer needs to sit up in this front row so they can quickly get to the speaker and move him off the area. And it's a very important position. Now, when Pastor Mike and that's preaching, we still need to watch out for people and for our speakers. It's a little bit different. We're a little bit more relaxed when he's here. But it's a very important position. And some of you might say, why do you have to protect someone like Pastor Mike? Well, Pastor Mike's good friend, the pastor, one of the members of the congregation did take his life when he was praying with him. It wasn't in his church, it was at his home. He's having a home meeting. But it can happen. Some people are a little crazy these days, so we need to watch out for it. So it's important, but it's important not only to protect our speakers, as ushers and as security people. When the service is over with and we have a prayer team up here, we also need to watch out for our prayer team. Keep an eye on our prayer team, because we just don't know if somebody is disturbed that they're going to be praying with.
Okay, I'm going to go back into it, and I'm on page 9 at the very bottom. D, procedures for church service disruptions. Church service disruptions are generally accomplished by persons who have an ideological acts or crime, by persons who are mentally disturbed. We've had those here before. Disruptions can also involve groups of people marching in the worship area. Page 10, preventive measures. Ushers, greeters, and security officers should be alert for persons who are loitering about the campus and parking lot areas who do not appear to fit in the normal context of church attendees. So that's where, like, if we have parking lot security, greeters, or anybody like that sees something, report it early on before something. If it doesn't look right, then it's probably not right. So don't just sit there and just let things go on. Just report it. Maybe it's not anything, but it's okay to report it so we can at least be on the lookout for it. This is obviously not to be confused with a casual visitor. An open and friendly inquiry to a person described above will generally resolve the question in the mind of the inquirer. Detecting early signs of disruption, such as a group of cars or people gathering outside the church, may be the only way to prevent a disruption of the main worship area. Chief of Security should be notified immediately upon any suspicious activity. Okay, what to do if an individual creates a verbal disruption? In the case, the head usher shall immediately notify the security chief, who will then contact the security officers. It shall be the responsibility of the usher to escort the person out of the sanctuary. The security officer should move into the position to assist should the situation escalate. And we had a situation that went down a couple of years back, and we did just that. It turned out to be no big deal, but it still worked. It should be the decision of the chief of security as to detain the person or not, depending on the situation. They basically have 3 options. Number 1, detain the person pending arrival of the San Luis Obispo Sheriff's Department. Number 2, place the person under arrest if necessary. Number 3, notify the Sheriff's Department for field identification, documentation, and release person with a warning concerning trespassing.
And that's one thing that I want to mention there. The head usher is still in charge of that. We're there only if things go out of line. We want to be contacted just in case things escalate. It is still your job. You're still the one that polices if somebody gets too exuberant or whatever in the service. It is still up to you to remove them and tell them maybe you want them to come back in again after you've given them a talk to. We're only there in case things escalate. It is still your job. You still are in charge of security as far as disturbances in this building go.
Ushers should never become physically involved with a group of disruptive persons. The parking lot security should move to the parking entrance so he can direct responding police cars or fire department to the problem location. The usher should take no action other than assisting our worshipers away from disruptive persons. That's very important. During this type of incident, the chief of security will be the authority in the field, and the usher security will be directed by the chief of security. The primary goal in a situation like this is to isolate the disturbance from the worshipers while waiting for the sheriff's department to arrive. They should take any action that is necessary to ensure the safety and the security of the worshipers. Note, security officers should not leave sanctuary unless the situation is life-threatening or other security officers are on duty and in position. Possible disruptions could be staged as a decoy to just pull security officers out of their positions. So we have to be on the lookout for that.
Most of the time, we operate with 2 armed securities on at every service. But if we have a service where we do not have one, then that is a time where we'll call in the head usher also, who's been trained with pepper spray. We want to make sure there is always someone in this sanctuary to protect. Okay, we're live again. Basic duties. I'm on page 13. The basic duties of the usher security. That's the people in the ushers that work with our security team. An usher security's basic role and primary function is to protect and to prevent criminal offenses on the property of Agape Church. An usher security's focal authority is limited to the private property boundaries of Agape. We mentioned that before. We have no authority outside of these boundaries. And in fact, if we have demonstrations, all we can do is have people go outside. If they want to stand across the street and demonstrate, that's fine. That's their civil right to do that. So we only work on these property boundaries. His responsibility is primary concern with crime prevention, personal safeguarding, and the determination that an offense has occurred on the property. You're to report criminal conduct, prevent criminal conduct, safeguard people and property, accomplish limited crowd control and behavior modification monitoring, promote loss and prevention regarding fire and safety here at Agape. Your requirements: to know and follow all policies and procedures of Agape Church Security Department. Be in good physical condition. Shall wear appropriate Sunday attire. No sandals, no tank top or shoes. Or shorts. Yeah, wear your shoes. It's a good idea. You might have to take off. Wear church provided security vest when on duty and parking patrol. Patrol duties. Shall perform duties as assigned by the head usher. Now, also, we know you have your own department. It says in here head usher, but it's your department head. If your department head is not here, then you take it from the head usher. Shall conduct themselves in a professional manner at all times. Should remain mobile and in his assigned area at all times, unless dispatched elsewhere. There shall be one parking lot security roaming the grounds. When needed, and special signed by Chief of Security, there shall be usher security also signed to the interior of the building. There shall be at least one security officer and one speaker protection officer point man. Now, one thing that I want to talk to for a brief second is our parking lot security. That's probably where we have the biggest problem in our security system, is not showing up, especially in first service. I handle first service, and we have a lot of no-shows. And you need to know how important you are, because again, The greeters aren't the first people that see them. You are the first people that see them. But also, when they see you, there could be somebody that's coming in that's maybe planning on robbing the church. They see security out in the parking lot. They're going to think, hey, you know what? Maybe we'll choose another place to do this. So again, you're very important. And if you can't make it, get on the telephone and call someone who can. It's your job to find your replacement. So get on the phone and find somebody that can do it. You're very important to us, and you're key to us.
That's right.
You got anything else to say on that?
Well, you basically nailed it. In any position, like in the security team, if you're not going to be there, if you need to take a day to go watch your kid play soccer or whatever, you have to find your replacement. You know, there's somebody that'll do it. Just find your own replacement. Don't just say, I'm just going to slide out. You got to fill your own position. That's the way it goes. It's very important. Okay.
And that really should go for all of our positions.
Yeah.
Excuse me, can I say something? I made a list of the greeters and gave it to only the greeters so that they had a list of those numbers
Yes.
available.
Yes.
To call other people. I don't know if you've done that for your security or not.
We have for our team. Every team should do that so that they have someone that you can call. If your team leader has not given you the list of phone numbers of the people on the team, get it, because that's the best way to have that happen.
Those are provided to everybody. They'll have those. All departments have those.
Okay, all departments have them, so you have them, and if you don't have it, then ask your department head. Now, on special events, that will be staffed by the church administrator. So if we're having a special event here, Pastor Richard needs to know about that event. In most cases, he does, but if you're having, he needs to know, because he needs to know how to staff it. We're not in charge of staffing it. We're in charge of staffing regular Sunday services. But a special event, it's Richard, and he will tell us how many security officers we need, how many ushers we need, and all that. Because some of it, like when we had Dr. Carlson here, they had a list. This is what we want. We want this many people, we want this, and they had a list. And so we followed their list. So again, Pastor Richard is the one that will set any special events. Guidelines. The volunteer parking lot patrolman shall be guided by the following guidelines. Radio is to be kept on channel 1 at all times.
We found one this morning.
Yeah, we found one this morning that wasn't on there, so we wouldn't have been able to talk to you. A security jacket, a yellow vest, shall be worn at all times in order to be clearly identified as security. Do not stay in one spot. Move around and be visible. Constantly patrol the perimeter in the lot. Promptly report suspicious activity to Chief of Security, complete with suspect description, I think person's better, description and description of the vehicle. Do not make contact with a suspicious person. Volunteer parking lot patrolmen are not equipped to confront a criminal. Call in the observance to the Chief of Security, an armed security officer will respond. Now, I'm not talking about if somebody comes across the parking lot and you don't know who they are, yeah, go up and meet him and greet him and hi, welcome to Agape, and get your first thing, because they could be a visitor. So we're not out trying to keep you away from visitors. We're talking about somebody who looks suspicious. If somebody looks suspicious, then give us a call and we'll check it out. Otherwise, be friendly. Say hello. You might find out from that hello that hey, this is somebody we need to watch, and then radio it in. While patrolling at night, pan the parking lot with your flashlight. So again, when we have special events and you're on night patrol, we don't provide flashlights, just like they don't provide guns for us. Bring your own flashlight. You need to have a flashlight. Do not talk on the radio unless absolutely necessary. If a crime should occur, protect the crime scene by not allowing anyone to go near it until a security officer gets there. Maintain a good testimony at all times. You are representing Agape Church while you're on patrol. Be polite, be courteous at all times, and don't be a hero. Your job is to be seen and to be a deterrent to criminals. You are only to be the eyes and the ears for the police department and for our security team. Do not take action. Just report and observe to the chief of security. It's not worth getting hurt. Volunteer parking lot patrolmen will be assigned their duties by their department head and the head ushers. Once you're in the field, parking lot patrolmen will be under the general oversight of the head usher and your security team. If a suspicious person, this is confrontational procedures, if a suspicious person, and this would apply to everybody, not just parking lot, is observed on the campus, and if no evidence of any crime, the usher security person shall approach the suspect and strike up a conversation. Under no circumstances is a suspicious person allowed to just wander around the campus. They should be confronted and, if necessary, asked to leave. But that also goes for everyone else. We're not just to be wandering around the property. Sometimes we have this problem with youth. They wander around the property. If you are not in service and you want to just talk or whatever, you want to be outside the building, the only place during service when this church is working that you can be is in this lobby area sitting or in our table area out there. So if someone is just walking around in other places, either you ask them to move to those areas or you call one of us and we will move them into that area. If an unauthorized person is discovered, yes, okay, there you go, is discovered in an office area and still no evidence of a crime, a detention for the purpose of identification should be attempted. Either an usher security or a security officer shall respond and conduct an interview. If the suspect is not going to be arrested, they should be photographed and warned against trespass. No one belongs in the pastor's office or in that office area. And so again, we want to be alerted. Now, it might be a church member. It can't be Grant because he's on the security team, but we'll just plan, he's a member. If he's walking around there, we still want to identify that he's walking around that area during the service time, and we want to tell the church administrator, hey, you know what? Grant is walking around in there, because we've actually had it where some people take on that they think that they are part of the security office and they want to protect Pastor Mike, and they've wandered around in areas and you ask them, what are you doing? I'm making sure the place is secure. Well, so if they're in those offices, we need to know, we need to identify it, even if it's you. Now, obviously, if I say, why don't you guys go in? I know you're in there for the offering. So we know you belong there. So use some sense on this one.
Can I stop you there just for a minute?
Yes, you certainly can, sir.
I'd like to go back just for a moment, back to parking lot security. Now that we're using this room over here for morning prayer prior to service, 15 minutes prior, we're leaving the front door unlocked until 11 o'clock, is it, David? So that gives an opportunity for anybody just to wander in and be in that office area. So if you're in parking lot security, if you would, keep an eye on this door when it's unlocked. I mean, we don't close it until 11 o'clock, so actually lock it until 11 o'clock. So just make sure that we don't have anybody just roaming in. If they're going into prayer, fine. They're going to end up in service. But we want to make sure we don't just have an open point for people just to come in.
Ray, it's not unlocked until 10:15.
What's that?
It's locked until 10:15.
It's locked until 10:15.
That's unlocked. Yeah.
And then it's unlocked until 11 o'clock.
Okay.
Just a question.
We got to put this up in a little bit of a high gear.
Yeah.
You know what?
A couple times I've seen that door open, and
Okay.
we just close it early on. Just close it if the door's left open.
It's just
Yeah.
with the peg down?
Probably,
Yes.
yes.
That shouldn't be.
Okay. We got to.
Yeah, close it, Bill.
We got to move on. Let's. At the end of the service, we'll talk about some of those things. But yes, if a crime is observed and has been witnessed by a church personnel, a physical arrest may be made. Making a physical direction will depend upon the circumstances of each incident. So I'm going to cover this. I'm sure it's covered in here again. But there are only two people who are allowed to make an arrest here. One is the church administrator, and one is whoever is chief of security at the time. So they're the only people that are allowed to make an arrest here.
I'll go ahead and extend on that. A physical detention subsequent to the commission of a misdemeanor crime shall only be made by crime that was observed, and a private person arrest is applicable. If directed by the chief of security, making a physical arrest may not be necessary if the suspect is known by church personnel and may be handled in-house. However, a temporary detention of the purpose of a brief interview and identification by usher or security may be appropriate. Number 2, and this is on page 17 if you still want to follow along. A physical arrest subsequent to the commission of a felony crime may be only if there is a reason to believe the suspect will escape prior to arrival of the sheriff's department. If an arrest is to be attempted, only trained personnel should effect the arrest. However, this shall only be done by more serious crimes against property or not necessarily reason enough to attempt an arrest, unless the chief of security or security lead officer is on the scene. In situations where a physical arrest is not safe for the security personnel, shall attempt to obtain a good physical and clothing description along with the vehicle description and license number. In all situations, personnel safety and safety of others shall be the primary consideration prior to taking any action. Safety is first, always.
Okay, in your book you see base station, a section that's called base station operation. We are not using that at this time. We're not quite big enough for that. So I'm just going to go into radio procedures. And this is a place where we've been a little bit weak too. We don't know what's on. So you now have it in writing here. When you pick up your radio, always first check to see that it's on channel 1. We use channel 1 here. Then proceed to identify yourself and your position that you're covering. Radio check. This is Gordon Hansen, Charlie 1. We'll talk about that later. Charlie 1. And then somebody would come back, or I'm usually the first person on it. So you would come on. Radio check. Aaron Benda, Speaker Protection Officer. Identify yourself and your position. When leaving your position, always identify yourself and the position is going off air. This is Gordon Hansen, Charlie 1, going off air. You should hear before that happens, this is Greg Payne, Charlie 2, going on air. So I'll always say this, so we know. We need to know. If I don't hear a head usher come on, I need to know I don't have a head usher, and I need to find an usher who's going to take the job of a head usher. If I don't have a parking lot security, then we know between the head usher and us, somehow we've got to cover the parking lot. When you need a chief of security or armed security officer, always ask for a Charlie. If you can't remember that, just holler, hey, I need something, But we're called Charlie. We have Charlie 1, Charlie 2, Charlie 3, Charlie 4, and Charlie 5. That's not in how important you are. It's how you came on the team. Somebody else comes on, you'll be Charlie 6. So we have 5 of us that work together. There's myself, there's Greg, there's Grant, there's Jeff, and there's Brandon, which is out of town. We are the armed security here at this church. But to just say, I need a Charlie at the youth room, I need a Charlie in the parking lot, and you will get one of the armed people there. Or one of the people that's armed with a pen, because don't forget, it's not just our gun, it's our pen, because we need to document what is taking place.
And if you call for a Charlie, please give a brief nature of the call for the Charlie so we can kind of prepare for it.
Yes, yeah.
Tell us what's going on.
Yeah. Okay, code red. Code red is to be called when any type of weapon is involved. A gun, a knife, a car. If there's a weapon involved, call code red, parking lot, code red, children's church, or whatever, so we know where it's at. And then if we have something that is happening in this building, if somebody has a gun and they are up front here and pointing the gun at the pastor, we want the ushers to go, get down, and start leading you out of the building. Because we can't take a shot as long as you are standing up. If somebody is in our way, so it's important that everybody Get the people down and move them out. Now, there might be a situation where we don't move them out. And again, we've got some training today that we're going to go through. But still, we need you to get down. If I got people sitting in the section over there, that's my assigned seat over there. There is no way that I can take a shot with people sitting over here and still up. So you need to, part of knowing who we are, you need to make sure you're not between us and the victim, or the victim can just sit there and keep shooting, because we're not going to shoot a member. Okay, code orange is to be called when there is a minor disturbance on the radio. Tell what the disturbance is and where it is. We've got a husband and wife fighting in the parking lot. Code orange, we've got a husband and wife fighting in the parking lot. You don't even have to call for one of us. We're going to be there. That's all you need to say on that. Code blue is to be called if there's any life-threatening medical emergency. For all non-threatening life emergency, just call medical need. We have somebody who's fall and possibly broken their arms in the youth building. You just call that out, what it is, where it's at, and we'll be going into the medical team a little bit later on. Code 4 is no further assistance needed. So if you hear code 4, nobody else needs to run in that. I want to talk to you about where restraints are. We don't carry restraints on us, so if we... he does. He carries... I got too much other stuff on my belt. He carries restraints. But we have a restraint. This box is located behind that. The head usher knows the security, and if you're an usher, you should know the security. If we ask for restraints, we want you to go and grab one of these and bring them to us immediately.
And then they just cinch right up. Just hold on here and push the tab up, and they're cinched down.
Also, first aid equipment. If we send out our first aid kit, we need an usher to go get the first aid kit. Right now, that kit is in our security office, and you should all know where that is. We also have a huge first aid, what we call a 911 kit, right behind that wall. We also have an AED right behind this wall here. So everybody needs to come, needs to get familiar with where these things are located. I guess I'm next on this, right? Okay. If a situation arrives where armed security pulls their weapon, it is the responsibility of the usher to let arriving police officers know this is near and dear to our hearts. Because the first thing a cop's going to do when they come in and see our gun is possibly shoot us. So I don't care if 15 of you on the way in tell them, we have armed security in there. We have armed security in there. Now, again, we will have pulled out our stuff, and they should see our badge or our line. But they need to know that we have armed security on the property.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go through some more security
And let's
procedures.
hit this one quick so we can get with our...
Okay, so when using the church facilities, and this is everybody because I know we have in a minute and a half.
No,
Okay.
6.
5 minutes.
Everybody, when you use the church facilities, should develop the habit of checking windows and doors to see that they are properly secured. If the facilities are used during off hours, make sure that doors and windows are locked as they are vacated. All opportunists, often juveniles, this time of year, by the way, too, frequently enter only when there's detect any easy access. So make sure that everything is secured up, and I know with the doors, the security alarm will let you know because it'll go crazy if you don't. Okay, here's what to do, but it's another preventive measure. The preservation of life is of primary importance. An armed suspect should never be confronted or denied access to the target of his attack unless the robbery escalates to a life-threatening situation. So if somebody's got a gun, the gun is in charge, okay? Don't try to be a hero. Don't try to jump in the way of nothing. Just let people know and just kind of stay back out of the way. All attendees and employees should be trained to remain calm, take a good look at the robber, watch to see if the suspect touches anything. That way we can get fingerprints later. Bomb threats.
Bomb threats. We're not going to go heavy into bomb threats. We have been trained in that. As you call it, the only thing that we really want to mention on that is the fact that we need to call the sheriff's department. You need to make sure that one of us know about it. We need to keep a written log. And we want to make sure that you tell where it is, because maybe someone hasn't seen it. Or if it's a light threat, like many times we'll get a call just because people leave backpacks and stuff because they're homeless and stuff, they leave backpacks. Well, we want to know if there's a backpack left somewhere, because one of the security officers is going to go look at it, and we're going to see if we think it's a bomb or if it's just their personal belongings. Okay, go ahead. We'll skip that because we're on time. Go ahead on it. This one. So on a bomb threat, you have the whole procedure with you.
Okay. During a time when we are evacuating or something, all security members shall report to the patio area outside Agape Church Cafe, so that the chief of security and the church administrator can assign to check, ensure total evacuation is accomplished. Should the main sanctuary require evacuation during services, the chief of security or the church administrator shall advise the main speaker and then give evacuation instructions. All ushers shall assist in a calm and orderly evacuation. Any alarm evacuation shall be assumed to be a real emergency, and evacuations will immediately begin and continue until all clear is sounded.
Okay, active shooter is an armed person who has used deadly physical force on a person and aggressively continues to do so while having unrestricted access. Here at Agape, we have trained an immediate action rapid deployment team. And the reason for that, again, is we talked earlier today. We are probably 10 to 20 minutes from having sheriffs arrive here. So if this were to happen, we have a team that is ready to come in and ready to do whatever it takes to stop the threat. I won't go in much more on that because mainly our team trains on that. But what you need to know is that we have that covered.
Okay, I'm going to talk about explosive devices, and Gordon's already hit on that pretty much with the backpack and stuff, so I'll just go through. Do not move or touch any device that may be considered explosive. Consider alternate routes based on the condition of the device. The responder who sees the device needs to verbalize its location and move past it if possible. Do not assume other team members have seen the device. So if you see something, you make sure you stop right there.
It's fine, no.
Okay.
2 minutes.
Make sure that you tell everybody so they can stay out of the way of that area.
Okay, I'm going to go through these part of my notes real quick here. Theft, burglary, robbery. At this meeting, we're not going to go in depth into those. You can read those, but always contact a security officer or a Charlie. Offering protection.
Hey, Matt.
All right. During the break, Jeff wanted me to go over once again on radio procedures because it's a place where we have a problem. We want to make sure everyone, again, responds so we know who is on. Ushers, parking lot securities, medical team. We want to know who's on and who is responsible for that position on that thing. So please make sure everyone responds that you are on. Okay. Going to go over the offering protection thing again. It'll just run smoother. Offering protection officer will accompany the football or bow tie, the offering, to the safe room by approaching from the opposite direction, then proceeding by doing a full security sweep. So we want our one of our armed officers, when the offering goes in that direction, we want you to go in that direction, to walk around, wait in the hallway until they are locked in the safe room, and then to come back around, look out those doors, those windows, come back around in here, look your crowd over, see who you know, who you don't know, walk over to the kitchen area, look and see if anybody's in the kitchen area, walk out into the foyer, look around, see your parking lot security of that, walk back, and then go to your assigned seating. Evacuation, active shooter, anyone calling 911 or the sheriff's department, it is imperative to inform the dishwasher, to inform the dispatcher, to tell the responding officers that we have armed security. If you just tell them we have armed security, they won't do it most likely. So you have to tell them, please tell the officers that are responding that we have armed security on the property. That's the first thing the police department wants to know too. Let's see, we won't go into this meeting, but all armed security is trained on continual basis for deadly force and cover fire. And you're going into code blue.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go into this real briefly because we're running out of time here. Okay, code blue protocol has been implemented to provide the most expedient assistance to any person who has fallen victim to any life-threatening medical or injury condition. It is designed to direct properly trained medical personnel to an incident with an absolute minimal delay in time. Once called, the below protocol shall be adhered to without argument or debate. All ushers, security officers, anybody who sees anything, and medical personnel must take certain that they have access and thoroughly familiar with the location of the 911 cabinet and the equipment therein. Any type of medical emergency situation. And we've got a new building going up, we've got the Children's Center, so it's really clear that we know about this so it can be adhered to quickly. I mean, in the past, we've even had somebody that's passed inside the service. So this is very important. Suffering from the onset of an apparent heart attack or stroke, not breathing to a medical injury or condition, bleeding profusely from an injury, immediate danger of death as a result of a medical injury condition. Code blue shall be called, not to be called anything but a life-threatening illness or injury. Any security personnel, others using agape radios, must call a code blue by simply stating twice over the radio, code blue, followed by the location. Code blue in the main sanctuary, code blue in the parking lot. So that's another important thing.
Up until this point, our medical officer, we have enough medical personnel to where they've just been here, but they haven't formally, in writing they've been formal, but they haven't formally been part of our team. That has changed. Pat Payne is now going to be the new head of our department.
Stand up, Pat, please.
She's the new head of the department, and they will be on radio from now on. One of them will be on radio. They're going to have the same key things so we can be assured we always have. And we have wonderful people listeners. We've got physician's assistants. We've got RN. We've got all kinds of good people here, and we've had many different instances where we've had to use them, but they are now going to be formal, and we're going to have them on, and we are so happy. And I want to let all of you head ushers and all of you department heads know, and you too, you want one of our security at any of your meetings, we will be there. One of us will make the time, one of us will be there, so we'll be happy to help you integrate into that. Are we done here?
We are done.
Well, okay, one thing that we did not mention, you all have evacuation. I don't have to go a lot into this because this is self-explanatory. You all have evacuation and how we are supposed to evacuate if we need to evacuate. One thing I need to let ushers know, the children's department, we don't have coming out into the main area. The children's department will be behind the locked fences. All of the security personnel should have the code to the locks on those fences. And the parents must come and get them out. So in a case of an emergency, we really need help. Even if you're not on duty as an usher, we're going to need you, because in an emergency, we don't have enough people on at all times. But really watch for our children and for our nursery. We need somebody in those positions immediately. But there is the evacuation plan and how we evacuate. So at this point, you didn't say anything. Okay. I'm going to introduce them. They can ask them at the end after he gets through. So, yeah, because they might have more questions there. Okay. As you know, it was announced that Ian McKnight was going to be our trainer for today. Ian's wife's sister, I guess that'd be his sister-in-law, died Thursday night. And they don't know exactly what had happened, so he had to obviously go take care of that. And I said, Ian, you can't leave me in alerts like that. And Ian asked Eric to come, and I've been in training with Eric before. And that is one thing. Agape is blessed. We are totally blessed. You have somebody, many of you have been through Ian's first aid training and CPR training, and I learned stuff in there that I never learned before, and I've been through 50 of them. And it would be like a disappointment, but I'll tell you what, this is like getting Ian. Eric, come on up. Eric is the owner and the operator. I could push into this. He didn't send this to me until this morning, and so I don't even. What is the name of your business?
Bootaroo.
We got it right. He's the owner and operator of Bootaroo in San Luis Obispo. He has been a professional Muay Thai. We got that one right. Hey, I should have just went ahead and did this. Muay Thai fighter. He's been in competitions in the United States, Thailand, and Guatemala. He is a black belt instructor of Krav Maga. We got that one wrong. And a master instructor for the LA Police Department in tactics enforcement, and he's been doing that for 10 years. He is a Marine. Hoorah!
Semper Paratus. I'm a Semper Paratus. I won't hold that against you.
He was with the infantry and armor. He is a graduate of Allen Hancock Police Academy, and as well as a Security International, an executive trainer for celebrity protection. Eric has worked on corporate, and he's worked for the U.S. Secret Service as well as the Israeli Secret Service. Now, is that some qualifications? Wow. He's a tactical instructor and security for companies in California. Eric has also worked and trained bail recovery teams, and he currently works with the governor's office at California Specialized Training Institute, training law enforcement officers of the use of weapons and tactics, as well as
Krav Maga.
Krav Maga. So welcome once again, Eric. Eric, thank you so much. Like I say, I've had him before, and one thing about Eric, I'm a little guy. And you know what? I'm afraid of people. But I'm afraid of him anymore because he taught me how to do it. So I'm not afraid of him anymore. You know what? If I have a guy and he's too close to me and I can't get my weapon,
Take him down, Eric. Take him down.
I don't know if I can. He's pretty vicious.
Thank you, sir. It's all yours.
Thank you.
At this point, too, we want the people that are going to, he's going to be doing stuff. When we start this stuff, grab your radios. We're going to do some live training here. And so we'll pass the radios on. But we want the radios. I don't know what he's going to do. He'll tell you when he wants criminals, when he wants crooks, when he wants a pastor to come up and preach, you come up and preach. But at this point, we're just going to follow him and your lead. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Wow. A microphone. I'm totally spoiled up here. Okay. So essentially what we're going to be, what I'm here to talk about with you guys is active shooter. And active shooter is really a misnomer. It's really what we try to call it is critical incident or potential for mass casualty. Okay? And the reason why we're kind of changing the nomenclature a little bit is because when we think of active shooter, we think about somebody coming into a premises with a firearm, right? Handgun, shotgun, rifle, whatever it may be. But what we're finding, unfortunately, through the School of Hard Knocks, is that it doesn't have to be a firearm. It can be an edged weapon, can be just as dangerous, if not more deadly, especially in a confined environment like this, than a firearm. So I'm gonna.
May I stop you for 1 minute?
Yes.
At this point, I would like at this point, I want all armed security to put their weapons in this suitcase. And if you are a concealed carry, we want all weapons to go away at this time. So if you would come forward, put them in this suitcase, and all the time while we were practicing, he will be here, and he will be watching these weapons.
You guys, that includes pocket knives or
knives.
anything that's going to cut as well, please.
And pepper spray.
Anything that will do serious discourse or harm to another individual. Unfortunately, you can't put your fists in there, but I'll let it slide.
Okay. No weapons, no pocket knives, no nothing out here, correct? Up, pocket knife. Bring it on down. Stick it in the magic suitcase. When you get it back, it'll be a hunting knife. All right.
Awesome. Thank you for reminding me about that.
Well, me too.
Okay. But before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes about tactics and deployment and things like that, one thing that I'm not going to do is I'm not going to tell you guys how to do your job. From my understanding, I've got former law enforcement, current law enforcement, retired military, and different types of law enforcement like street cops and corrections. And the reality is, everyone has been trained to deploy for active shooter differently. Okay, when I was doing corporate security and even corporate security versus celebrity security, we would have to deploy differently. Law enforcement deploys differently than military. So essentially, we're gonna kind of work this live a little bit, and then kind of work the kinks out from there, and kind of go backwards and kind of reconstruct your guys' tactics based on need. Okay. But a couple things I do want to hit on before we really get rolling. The security that's out in the parking lot, you guys probably have one of the most important jobs here. You're really kind of the first line of defense. Okay, in terms of showing presence, security presence in the facility or on the premises, but also you're the first eyes and the first ears. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about a word that for a lot of my law enforcement people is going to be a bad word, but it's really not. It's called profiling. Okay, profiling. When we profile, we're not profiling. We have to be profiling the correct traits, right? And things that we need to be looking for all the security personnel and for really everybody that's here is that kind of furtive movement. Does the person look like do they look like they're comfortable here? Are they acting the way that somebody would normally be acting that would be on this premises? Are they dressing a certain way? And these are indicators that are not necessarily exclusive to a bad guy, because a bad guy could look just like everybody else. But they oftentimes, what we find is that they are an indicator that something else is going on. Then it's something that will require investigation. Okay? It's not necessarily a judgment call on the individual. It's simply something that our hackles have come up and our instincts are kind of chiming at us. Okay? And what we're finding more and more and more is those security officers or law enforcement officers that ignore that instinct and that reflex. They've seen something, but they haven't said anything. Right? So that see something, say something adage of Department of Homeland Security is incredibly, incredibly important. It's something that for example, the Israeli security service, that they rely on very, very heavily. If you ever spend time with Israeli security guys, they're not a bunch of, well, for the most part, they're not a bunch of like kind of big hard asses. They're not the Secret Service types with the black suits that you see everywhere, right? They're small little guys that are kind of walking up and they talk to you and they go, "Hey, how you doing today?" And what they're looking for are certain key elements within that person's personality. They're talking to them for a very specific reason, right? They pick that person out of the crowd for a very specific reason. And their instinct is chiming at them, and then they start calling it in. They start working as a team until they figure out what's going on. Okay? So with the security that's outside, your job, you're the number one people. Okay? By the time that person comes in here, hopefully there's been quite a few eyes on them, and security's already positioning themselves to talk to this person or take proactive measures to be able to protect the congregation and protect property and everything else that you guys need to do. Okay. I also wanted to touch really quickly on the bomb thing. Hey, if you see a package or a bag that is left unattended, do not get on the radio. Okay? This is a huge one. If you believe that something might go boom, some good decent indicators are if you see a liquid type of substance permeating through the material, either the box or the nylon of a bag or whatever, or if you see something that seems to be like exposed wire. If you don't see that, but your hackles are still up and you think something might be ticking, it could be a radio detonator. Or a detonator that will go off of an electronic charge. So the last thing you want to do is key your radio. Okay, we kind of learned that the hard way in the Marine Corps a couple times, even in training. So just realize that you don't want to key your radio probably within a good 50 feet of that suspect baggage. So usually a lot of times we would kind of manually run something in and kind of work it up the chain of command. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right. So, could you play that video for me, please? So what I'm about to show you is from LA County Sheriff's Department, and it's their active shooter response video. And we're gonna kind of watch this, and then we're gonna dissect it a little bit and talk about it. Okay.
It is a little graphic. Like any other, turned tragic today when an employee opened fire on his supervisor and fellow coworkers.
Students, parents, teachers are asking why today, after a bloody rampage, plunged this campus into tragedy.
Details are just coming in, but we're being told that a heavily armed gunman opened fire this evening at the mall food court behind me. There's no official word on any casualties yet, but one eyewitness reported seeing at least 6 people shot.
Active shooter. A gunman or gunmen killing or attempting to kill people in a confined, populated area.
You gotta get some sleep. You're looking like a vampire. You sleep.
You ain't got no babies at home keeping you up.
What the hell? Send me here.
We tried. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to let you go.
Active shooter killings are a tragic, unpredictable reality, and one that's becoming more common.
Since 2006, the U.S. has averaged an active shooter event with 4 or more deaths every 2.9 months.
Even though the number of active shooter events has been increasing, your odds of being involved in one are still very slim. But just like fire drills and earthquake preparedness, making a plan in advance can make all the difference. If you do find yourself in the middle of a senseless attack, the why doesn't matter.
Hey, buddy.
Hang on, something's happening.
What matters is surviving.
On average, 20 mass shootings take place in the U.S. every year.
Killers usually choose their victims at random. They look for easy targets. So the harder you are to see or to hit, the safer you are. When an attack starts, if you can find a way out of the location, do so.
Get out.
If you stay calm and think clearly, even in the middle of a life and death event, you improve your chances of making it out. Visualize your movements in advance.
Look at me. Get us out. Stay behind me. Stay out.
Use cover, something that will stop a bullet, and concealment, something that at least keeps you out of sight.
Attention South Bay units, code 3 response needed regarding a 245 DSV 417. To go to the town center shopping mall. Suspects wearing a face mask, possible body armor.
Use any available means to get out, including emergency exits or windows. Most restaurants and retail locations will also have exits in the back, through kitchens or stock rooms. Even in the best cases, police are minutes, not seconds away. You must take action to protect yourself.
Okay, everybody stay calm. It's probably just a drill.
Go back, go back.
Oh my god,
If you can help others without putting yourself in unnecessary danger, do so.
What's your name?
Lori.
Lori? It's gonna be okay.
If you can't move safely to an exit, get to a room or a confined area you can lock down. Then secure the location.
Secure your location.
Oh my god.
There's somebody shooting.
Everybody stay calm. Remember how we train. Everybody get in this corner, away from the windows. Get the emergency bag from my desk. Help her.
Drywall won't stop a bullet, but there are steps to take to stay safe. Lock or barricade the doors, turn off the lights, move away from any windows, and silence your cell phone.
The other door doesn't lock. Move desks or anything, just block it.
A modern emergency bag can include a first aid kit, gloves, emergency plans for the building, and casualty cards to alert first responders to any wounded victims.
Most active shooter situations are over in 10 to 15 minutes.
Attention Lakeway units, code 3 is needed. We're at 245 GSV 417. It's going to be at Alexandria College. Multiple victims down.
Law enforcement's first responsibility when entering an active shooter situation is to stop the suspect, not to render aid to the victims. Medical teams will enter the scene as soon as the suspect is no longer a threat or is confirmed in another location. Silence any cell phones and remain quiet. Do not alert the shooter to your presence.
Sheriff's Department, is there anyone inside?
My card.
Just hang tight. We'll be back to get you.
Defend yourself.
If you cannot escape the location and you can't shelter in place, you may have to defend yourself as a last resort. Almost anything can be turned into an improvised weapon. Look for something that can disrupt the shooter's ability to see, breathe, or control their weapon. When law enforcement arrives, they are going to be in a heightened state of readiness and awareness, looking for any aggressive movements. So keep your hands visible and follow any commands you are given.
I just saw one shooter.
Especially in developing situations, engaging law enforcement, running toward them, reaching for them, even to thank them, could put people at risk.
Surviving an active shooter. For more information,
Thank you.
visit activeshooter.lasd.org.
Okay.
Hold that thought, please.
Reset.
Good to go.
Okay. By the way, you guys have a copy of this video now. So, okay. So I want to talk a little bit about what you guys saw up here. Was this hard to watch?
Yeah.
I thought it was hard to watch, and that's frankly that's why I picked this video out of some of the others. Because it is hard to watch, because I want people to understand exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about an active shooter or critical incident. Okay? With the way that a lot of times it's portrayed, like you saw the Department of Homeland Security one, it's kind of nice and very clean. But look, here's the reality. I hate the term active shooter. Okay? I hate it. This is a terrorist act. Okay? Now, the minds or the ideology might be different than what we would typically in the West classify as a terrorist, but the action is the same. Okay? The outcome in the criminal act of active shooter is the exact same as a terrorist act, and it has to be treated exactly the same way. Okay? So the fact that you guys are here today is showing a lot of preemptive motivation to secure your people, and that's incredibly important. It's probably the most important element about dealing with a terrorist action like this. Okay, is understanding that the threat or the potential threat is out there. It doesn't have to make sense. Okay, because really, when it comes down to the end user being us or the end recipient being us, the ideology is really kind of irrelevant. Okay, that's more for the armchair quarterbacks that are going to kind of debrief this thing. Okay, for us, it's the methodology of the attack that really matters. Okay, so here what we saw were two active shooters, one in the workplace and one in a school. Pretty common, unfortunately, in our day and age. Okay, now we're going to kind of go from the end of the active shooter and kind of reel it back. Okay. What did you guys think of the law enforcement response? Is that what you guys have seen or heard before, especially my LE guys here? Okay, I'm gonna tell you, those guys that walked in with that nice little T formation and looked all calm, cool, and collected, that's not how it's gonna go down. It's not. Especially in this area, our law enforcement people are incredibly well trained in active shooter. I'm pretty surprised and pretty stoked with the due diligence that the Sheriff's Department has placed on their active shooter training. But the reality is, These guys are going to be moving fast. They're going to be a little spotty, okay? And unless they really, really know this area, and they know every nook and cranny here, they're going to make mistakes, okay? So understand that if the active shooter has already gone code 4, which means like everything's kind of chill, okay, you're just going to give them time to kind of calm themselves down as well. Okay, one of my partners, he dealt with an active shooter as private security down in Los Angeles, LA County, who made this video. They made an entry. It was in a club. They made an entry for an active shooter. The active shooter had already been taken down, and they still almost shot a couple patrons. Okay, and I'm not saying this to slight law enforcement. Okay, because they're entering a very dynamic, very fluid environment that they know nothing about. So really, one of the jobs of the security on site is to make sure that the situation is no longer fluid. Does that make sense? Right? So it's no longer elevating. It should be the point of de-escalation. And realistically, it will be. That's just the nature of an active shooter event by the time law enforcement comes, okay, especially in the county. Okay. So, who are my medical peeps in here? Okay, so the medical staff, you guys are some of the most important security personnel here. Okay, a lot of times we separate our gunslingers from our docs, and really that's not what we should be doing. Okay, one thing that should absolutely happen is you come up with a tactical trauma care package. Okay? Because what we find is that our EMTs will respond to tactical trauma differently than our doctors, differently than our nurse practitioners, and differently than our nurses. Okay? So everyone medically needs to make sure that they're on the same page with tactical trauma care and your emergency evacuation procedures and your casualty collection points. Okay, so just something to keep in mind, because I know for some of the security teams that we've been on, it's kind of been an issue. Okay, now let's talk about security. Okay, the actual gunslingers in here. Okay, when we're now kind of in the meat and potatoes of our environment being right in here. I presume this is the primary security focal point, right?
Right.
Okay, so when we're talking about in here, we're talking about having a very specific job. Okay, and this is where it becomes very difficult for security personnel, especially when we're talking about security personnel performing protective duties. Okay, because it's different than law enforcement. Okay. If your job is for the speaker or the pastor, that is your sole responsibility. Okay? And that is much easier said than done. Because when all of a sudden people around you are going down, those people going down are not your... This is going to sound very callous, so please understand. They are not your problem in the moment. Okay? The person up on the stage is your sole responsibility. The other security personnel are designed to de-escalate and provide flanking security for the evacuation. Okay, now this is going into a little bit of executive protection-y kind of thing, but the roles overlap. Okay, where things get a little dicey are the non-security personnel that will potentially act like security personnel. Do you have retired cops or CCW holders that are here that are not part of the standard operating procedure? If that is the case, then it might need to be addressed, because they can kind of put a little hitch in your giddy up, if you know what I mean. Okay. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to kind of see how you guys respond to a threat. So who are my gunslingers? Who are part of the active security team? Okay. What I want you guys to do is I'd like you guys to step outside for a bit. Okay. And don't worry, I'm gonna be in here.
Two of these, because then we'll just do it in teams.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So Brett and I, our first service,
Grab a
we'll
radio.
take the first one.
Grab a
Okay. And one thing I want to tell you about him, he's going for a knee replacement on Monday. So whatever you have him do, make sure it's not something he's got to go down on his knee or something.
Alrighty.
All right. Got a radio, Brent?
No, sir.
Man, how'd you do that?
Radio? Yeah, so be lightweight on second team.
Okay. So throw first team under the bus. Is that
Throw
okay?
first team under the bus.
Okay.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, you typically have 2 security personnel on at a given time.
Yeah, we have 2 security people on a given time. I don't know how second service does it. Well, I know Greg is there. I'm there. He's there.
Okay, awesome.
And if you want to tell us that we can do somewhere better, we'll listen.
Well, let's see what you guys come up with first. All right.
And we're on our radio, so you can call us in.
Okay. All right. Let me grab some of my props here. Who wants to be a bad guy? Okay.
Got some bad guys.
Right? So.
Ooh, me.
So what we have here, this is called a SIRT pistol. Okay, it is a non-firearm. Okay, it approximates the weight and feel of a Glock 17. Has a removable magazine. When I pull the trigger, a laser comes out. Okay, so we use these for a lot of different training devices. Okay, I also have a few different types of training knives, but where's my big one? Okay, this training device is on batteries almost dead. So I also have a couple training knives. Okay, so what we're going to do is, so I'm going to have you up and speaking, okay? And then one of you in here is going to be my shooter. And you're going to be kind of sitting in the back. So I'm probably going to have you guys all kind of shuffle forward just a little bit and kind of take up the first couple rows. And then what's going to happen is the security team, I'm going to let them come in and kind of situate themselves. And then we'll kind of call action. And what's going to happen is one of you is going to become an active shooter. Okay? Now, upon the active shooter, without running down the cameraman, or you might just have to duck and cover. Right? We'll kind of see how this rolls.
I know how it works.
This makes no noise, so you're gonna have to kind of give a bang, bang, bang and play this up. But regardless of who you are, if active shooter points at you and pulls the trigger, and you get that laser on you, I want you to respond as if you have just been hit in that area. So maybe it's the shoulder, maybe it's the leg, maybe it's the body. No one dies. Okay. So my terrorists, no headshots, please. But then also the rest of you, I want you to act as if how you think you would act without beating the holy bejesus out of the active shooter. I want you to act how you would act if something like this were to happen. Okay, so a few natural reflexes for people are to naturally hide, to start to scream and run, okay, or to absolutely freeze. Those are the 3 responses. Okay, it's usually fighting somebody with a gun is usually I don't advise it, and it's usually not the go-to. Okay, you know what? Do I have anybody else in here that is a CCW holder or interested? Okay, we're gonna.
He is.
Okay, I'm gonna throw those guys under the bus. So.
Good.
I'm sorry, who are you? Raise your hands again for him, please. Okay. So, you guys are also going to pull, but you're not going to shoot. Okay? Because what you're going to find, just because you have a weapon system, and my security peeps are going to find this too, it doesn't necessarily make it a shoot scenario. Okay? Well, it will be, but it won't necessarily make it an appropriate shoot scenario. All right? So, who wants to be my bad guy?
I'll be the bad guy.
No hesitation.
Time to get even, Pastor Mike.
No hesitation.
Forgive me, whatever I've done, forgive me.
He'll want to
Keep an eye on him. And sir, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to sit kind of in the back.
Okay.
And just keep that nice and concealed for me.
Okay. Mike, how's your life insurance policy?
I think it's great.
So,
All right.
can I ask you,
Yes.
does plexiglass stop bullets? Because this thing doesn't work.
Actually, with the other team, when we debrief this, I'm going to talk about cover and concealment too, because that becomes a pretty important element about what can actually stop a bullet and what can't. We're gonna talk about that in a few minutes after we see how this whole thing unfolds. Okay. So yeah. So let me gun them up a little bit.
They're wearing a badge.
You guys should sit down too.
Even though the emergency room also is that way.
Sorry, who are my CCW peeps? I need one of Sorry.
Children's church or total nursery? Front doors. Oh, outside. Yeah.
Actually,
While he's setting this up, we've only had a couple times, in 31 years, just a couple times where things got a little goofy or somebody's come in, and so I'm grateful for that. But and the guys have handled it good. Because we're by Sunny Acres, we've had a couple people come in delusional from Sunny Acres. We've had this is years ago, another guy had an issue with me and had a knife. But there's been very few times in our 31 years where we've even had to do this. So I'm grateful for that. How about you?
Yeah. Better than this time.
Yeah, amen. Well, in the climate we're in, I think preparedness is a good thing. So, go ahead.
All right, so this is just your standard Sunday service, okay? And anytime you're ready, you can go ahead and begin. My security peeps, are you guys in position?
Yep.
Okay.
Thou shalt not kill. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I'll say of the Lord, He's my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him I will trust.
Hey, that's a lie.
Surely He'll.
That's a lie. Pastor Mike, that's a lie.
Keep going. Okay. Time now. Okay. So this is what I love about scenarios, because this totally did not go how I planned.
You didn't give me instructions.
But no, that was excellent. Yeah. Okay, so there are different types of threats that we're going to deal with, and what he actually did was you did what we're going to do next scenario.
Oh,
so
okay.
this actually works out incredibly well. Okay. One thing I wanted you guys to notice was, technically, this is an active shooter, even though he hasn't pulled the trigger yet. Okay? Now, what was his pathology here?
It was normal.
You're not firing me.
Okay, so, who was his target?
Pastor Mike.
The pastor. Okay, so his target, he was not generally showing behavior to kill everybody in the room or as many people as he could in the room, but to kill one person. Okay? And you're pretty spry. I gotta say, like, you started to move, and it was like, holy cow.
Hey, Eric, could I ask? If somebody's come with a gun, do I yell gun?
Yes.
Do people in the room yell gun?
Yes, if you, the second, it's the whole see something, say something. Okay? If you see a weapon, say it. Okay? I mean, especially if it's brandished. Brandishing is when the weapon is actually pulled out of a holster. Yes?
That would be the first thing that I noticed, because I just sat here and was concentrating on what Pastor Mike was saying, and that's what most of us will be doing, just concentrating, and we don't even hear or see what this is until it's too late.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes, until the commotion comes up towards the front.
I don't know, it's just too hard to take him seriously as a threat. I'm down here laughing.
So Eric, also our ushers are trained. Usually our ushers are positioned around the building. And it's their duty, they'd be screaming right now, get down, get down, get down. When they see something happen, that did not happen in this scenario.
Yeah, ushers should really be in position during this.
Now, what ends up happening with most people is we have what's called the color code of mental awareness. Okay, condition white is what most people are in most of the day. So we've got white, yellow, orange, red, and black. Okay, these are just kind of visual interpretations of our mental mindset. Condition white is what most people are in during the day. Okay, frankly, most of the time in their life, where we're just kind of we're in the moment, we're kind of focusing on one thing. Okay, and it could be something as simple as putting our headphones in while we're at the bus stop and just kind of tuning out the rest of the world. Okay, usually when we're in a, for lack of a better word, a sanctuary or a haven such as this, we want to be in condition white, right? We want to be. Doesn't mean it's necessarily appropriate for us to be, but this is what we want to have happen. Okay, and even here during that scenario, most of us were in condition white. It took about 3 seconds before people started to respond to that direct threat. Okay, now, part of it was because you knew the assailant he didn't stand out, so no hackles came up. But the reality is that could be very much how the situation unfolds anyway. Okay, Virginia Tech is a pretty good example of that. That the kid who perpetrated that crime belonged on that campus. He was a student on that campus, at least he used to be. So when he walked on the campus, he was just another face in the crowd. Okay, and that a lot of times is the pathology of these individuals. They are a face in the crowd, and that is all they are to themselves as well. And they want to be special, they want to be unique, and in this case, they have a beef, either real or perceived, with their target. Okay, so condition yellow is just kind of one step up of condition white, and essentially what that is it's all you're doing now is just taking in your environment. You're looking for those anomalies. You're maybe even coming up with a little plan of action, like, oh man, if something really pops off, what am I going to do? If I sit here, where's my closest exit? Okay? If this were to happen, if I'm sitting here and this happens, what would be my course of action? Right? Like his course of action, he actually went for the dude with the gun. Okay, now.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
So, say the perpetrator was running down with a gun outstretched, and he jumps up to protect Pastor Mike. Now he gets shot. Should they wear a protective vest when they're assigned to protect?
I will, for people that's their duty, I would never say no to body armor. It's pricey. It creates some other tactical issues in terms of now someone who's really kind of scoping the place out will know exactly who you are. But there's always going to be that risk, right? If someone,
believe me, my team puts on Ephesians body of armor before we go out.
Amen.
So I think bullets will bounce off of us anyway.
We should just give it to Pastor Mike, and then we wouldn't have to worry about it.
Set up in a metal box with a little. That's never going to happen.
So body armor's fine, but really it's going to be these kind of proactive measures that are going to be the best stopgap for that type of behavior. And hey, I want my offering back! I want my offering back! I want my offering back!
Get down! Get down! Get down! Get down!
That's the way you're supposed to do it.
In Jesus' name. Give me some restraints.
Don't waste something tight.
Put your hands behind your back and lock your fingers.
Probably not.
He's down.
Good job, Richard.
He put me up to that.
Very nice. Very nice work. Okay. So let's finish debriefing the last one, and then we'll actually debrief this one because the responses were very different, right? So.
Are we really going to?
Yeah, you're. I didn't plan that, so that was awesome. Okay. It's fake. They're all fake. Yeah. But look, getting your hackles up is a good thing. Okay, it's good that you have that visceral response to the threat. It's not a bad thing. Our instincts scream at us like this for a reason. Okay. Now, some of you guys, when this went down and people started to realize what was happening, what was the initial? My security guys, what was your initial reflex?
Stop the threat.
Okay. So based on positioning, would you have been able to stop the threat in time?
Yes.
Not the first time.
Probably not the first time. Right? He had already kind of permeated pretty deep into the crowd. Okay. By the time security started to engage. Okay. So, are you my primary security guy for the stage?
For the pastor.
For the pastor. Okay. Or the speaker.
Speaker.
Okay. So, you did awesome, by the way, both times. One thing I would maybe think about doing though is that also, believe it or not a bad thing, because it will allow your security to do their job. Okay. Someone like me would probably be horrible to do security for because I'd be jumping all over other people's jobs. Okay, so the fact that you're allowing your security to work is actually a very big benefit to them.
To hit the ground, is that a better thing from here?
No.
Okay.
No, you want to move. Yeah. You want to move and let him deal with you and with the problem.
2 times though, nobody has said, get down.
Yeah, I heard over here. Yeah. And I'll talk about that in a second because now we're starting to go into auditory exclusion and physiological response to stress. Okay?
I don't know what happened.
Okay?
Because I was
So.
That was the right response. When these guys take the frame and clear lines fire, and guys got a gun, and pastor, should he just do what he did, or should he have pulled his trigger?
I pulled my trigger when we were there.
I'll get into that one in a second. So go ahead. With regards to your position, if you can't, I would maybe try to find somewhere where you can sit where you can actually look out into the crowd. And this is one thing we found doing protection for a lot of people is we try to blend in and we're looking at our principal, but then we're not looking at where the threat's going to come to our principal. So sometimes we can mitigate our response time by even just a slight body shift.
And that's why we've chosen here and there, because it sees all of that, and we've had those arms brought down because they used to be up, and then one in the back. And from here I can see everything except behind me, and he can see behind me.
Right. So I like that you guys have kind of overlapping fields of view, but it also leaves one whole flank totally open.
But we have an usher over in that door.
But the usher's not armed, right?
Correct.
He's armed with pepper spray.
Okay.
Not always.
Well, the head usher is supposed to have pepper spray, and it says
But they're in the back.
I think I know what I'm
Okay, well, a head usher, and we can go into that, is supposed to have pepper spray. We have several pepper spray guns in the lockup, in the security office.
Okay. So, really, when it comes down to a lot of active shooter, it's all going to be based on scenario, right?
But So in your sense, Grant would be better sitting in that section.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Because now you're getting kind of cross funneling for both line of sight. Line of sight's not necessarily obstructed, but you're also kind of able to kind of take care of your own field of view and have less overlapping, right? So if active shooter was in this portion of the room and they just all of a sudden stood up,
too far for me.
Too far for you, and probably too far for him as well. And now we have a safety issue with kind of enfilade fire. Okay?
Get another security person, and you have that solved. Have 3 in here.
Yeah. Now let's talk about security response the first time. What did you guys think?
Pastor Mike was a dead man.
Okay, if suspect had decided to pull the trigger, right? The unfortunate reality is, unless with a pinpoint shooter or someone who's going directly for a target, unless they have a very active security team and the suspect has been picked out early, there's a high likelihood that they're going to get a round off. Okay, and
there was one time, that time he pulls it out, he shot it, as you said, they're going to shoot, hit the crowd, nobody's going to get down.
There's going to be things that we just can't count. Well, both times, I think the way he was coming this time and that time, it would be hard to stop him.
Yeah. There's going to be things that we can't count.
There's almost always somebody at the keyboard. And if that was to be the person included on the security team somehow,
hey, keep your
Jared.
he has an eye, so maybe
Busy
he
playing
had
the
a keyword or
Let me watch him.
was able to notify you or say one great big, if he was aware all the time, he could say gun or whatever.
That's an excellent point. An eye and a radio might not be a bad idea. And I am. So this is kind of. I don't want you to think that I'm here to give you guys the answers. I'm here to give you guys the questions. Okay? Because everyone's level of response is going to be different. Okay? And everyone's perception based on their training and experience is going to be different. And frankly, I like really having non-LE and non-military people in here, because you're going to think so far outside the box based on your own training experience that isn't dictated by the standard operating procedure for my military and my law enforcement guys and girls. You're going to think of different issues that are going to come up. Okay, like the keyboard, like that was brilliant. I love that idea, and that solves a lot of your issues as well. To where now you can potentially have a proactive eye looking out on the crowd that's going to tell you what's going on, right? So that'll allow you to focus on your sole job of evacuating the person up on the stage, fast predominantly, right? Now, let me talk about cover and concealment, and then we're going to kind of roll into another scenario. Hey, even though we've already done 2, and I didn't plan for that, that was awesome. Okay, there's a difference between cover and concealment, and this is where a lot of people get flubbed up because we watch too much TV and movies. Okay, in a movie, I could hide behind this and it would stop like a bazooka round. It's not gonna happen. Okay. As a matter of fact, I don't see anything in here. Is this drywall? It's baloney. There is nothing in here that will stop a bullet.
Yeah.
Our doors might. Maybe. Those are thick.
Maybe. If the doors might stop a pistol round. Probably not something like an AK-47 that shoots a 7.62 by 5.9 round. Maybe double lock buck might punch through there. And so cover is basically something that hides you from visual sight. Okay? Concealment is something that hides you from visual sight. Cover is something that will stop bullets. Okay? And yeah, I don't see anything in here that will stop a bullet. Okay? Even another person, I know someone was thinking it. Okay? People don't stop bullets. Okay? Except for those of you that kind of duck behind here, this might. Because you're getting a little bit of angle of deflection. I like the thought process of diving behind here and then working towards the room. when you guys did that, that was awesome. And some of you just made a beeline for it and got through there. Okay? Using the same principle that the attacker used on their principle, right? Of that overwhelming force and aggression. You guys took that overwhelming force and aggression and you got out the door. Okay? Because what ends up happening is that shooter, the reason why we can stop active shooters, the reason why you can potentially stop an active shooter if they're pinpointed, if they're directed towards one target, is because they will get tunnel vision. Okay? Their auditory senses go away, and that's probably why you didn't hear the gun get down the second time.
Exactly.
Right? There was auditory exclusion. Okay? And now the auditory exclusion goes both ways. Okay? Vocalization also starts to go away. So you can think that you're yelling and screaming, gun, 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 get on the ground, there's a gun. But really it sounds like this, gun, 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 get on the ground. It's pretty wild. Okay? So it has to be a collective effort to let people know that something bad is going on. The standard response time for somebody is between 3 and 5 seconds. That is to determine what's going on and what they're going to do about it. Okay? Now, if we're not mentally prepared, what we end up getting is that, like for my Mac users, we get that little pinwheel of death. Okay? And basically what's happening is our brain is trying to take in all of this stimulus and it doesn't know what to do with all this information. So it's cycling through and it's going, wait, that's a gun? Well, that doesn't belong here. Oh! It's an active shooter. I need to leave. Well, by then it might be a little late in what's going on,
especially with low round going.
Right. Okay. And your frontal lobes, they're already focused. It's already focused. It's already concentrating on what the pastor's saying. Right. You're in the moment. You're with your friends. Okay. You're in a safe space, or what should be a safe space, and all of a sudden it's not. That is a lot to take in. Okay? So for my security, one of the most important elements that you have got to accept is that when you are here in a security role, you are not here as a congregant. Okay? You are here as security.
Absolutely.
You're not paying attention to what's happening on stage. It has nothing to do with you. Okay? You are here, you're watching that crowd, and you're looking for anomalies. Constantly looking for anomalies. Constantly running scenarios in your head. Okay? Now, we can only maintain that level of diligence for about 20 minutes. So this is where you and your partner become really important. And this is why I also like to separate and make sure that you have those kind of overlapping fields of view and areas of responsibility, so that when one person's not necessarily taking a mental break, but when one person might be a little bit, the other person is still on their game.
That's
right?
another reason why we have that bow tie now. Follow it, even though I don't think it's important, because it gives one person a chance to walk and get out of fatigue.
Brilliant.
And the other in. And we do communicate back and forth with stuff.
Excellent. Okay, so comms, communication is really going to be the key element here. Okay. Now, with regards to the takedown up front, okay, did you see the gun?
Yes.
Why didn't you shoot?
Why didn't I shoot?
And I'm not saying this is a right or wrong answer.
Okay. I did not shoot there because he put the gun down.
Okay.
We didn't get him properly restrained before he grabbed the gun again. I shot him in the back right there.
I saw that. Okay. Which
is a legal thing. He still had the gun, but he was also fleeing. So I put myself in a tiny risk there, but I didn't want any more. He still had the gun in his hand.
He had the gun in his hand. He was a viable threat. He's shown pathology. I think you could, cops, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you could articulate that there was
still a threat.
That there was a
Just
threat
for
for
you
serious
guys
bodily
that don't know, once somebody's leaving, if he's no longer a threat, you can't shoot him. So that's where I get in there. But he still had the gun.
So with regards to active shooter, remember, they are not an active shooter. They're a terrorist. Okay? Remember that.
Can I mention one thing?
Yes.
when he's talking about a bullet can go through a human and stuff, I want to let you know every one of my security officers are required to carry personal defense ammo. Our ammo stops in the body. It's especially expensive ammo. It'll go through glass, it'll go through wood, it'll go through everything else, but it will not go through soft tissue. Once it hits soft tissue, it comes apart. And we make sure everyone has that because we don't want something coming from a person to another person.
Okay. Which is very important.
Does that work, Eric, what he's talking about?
It does.
It does.
It does work. It's creepy how it works. Yeah, but yeah, it works really well.
Looking at your face, I wasn't sure if you were convinced that would work. So that would...
With rifle ammo, I'm not overly convinced, but with pistol ammo, it works really well. It becomes a problem if they're vested, but if they're vested, any ammo is going to be a problem anyway. Now, with regards to detention, don't be in a hurry to put your hands on somebody. Okay? Don't be in a hurry.
We shut a security down.
Yes, detention is a point of de-escalation. Okay? The reason why active shooter works, or why a terrorist act like this works, is because they are controlling the who, what, where, when, how, and why. Okay? So the more of those elements that we take from them dynamically, ballistically, and aggressively, the more lives we're going to save. Understand that in an active shooter, people are going to be shot. They're not necessarily saying they're going to die, but there is going to be blood. This will be the most traumatic event of your life, for my combat vets included. Okay? Because if we're, and I hate to talk about this because it's really horrible. Okay? But you have to understand what you're dealing with. You are dealing with a person who does not care about the life and the well-being of anybody in this room. Okay? Now, with the pathology of somebody who's attacking an individual, a targeted individual, that person probably wants to live. Okay? So their fight is going to be a little bit different. A person that comes in and they just start plinking everybody, they're intent to die. Okay? And we saw that on the video, right? How many active shooters do we hear about where the suspect walks out? Right? Or if the police dump them. It's pretty rare, right? When they get cornered, all of a sudden that weapon turns on themselves. Okay? Now, I'm going to be very blunt and brutal here. That is our goal. Our goal is to stop this action as quickly and aggressively as possible. Okay? Your action was perfect in that it was decisive and it was quick. You acted so quickly that you grabbed the gun and you're like,
hey, the gun before we were there.
Now what do I do? And that's good. Okay? Tactics are not always the smartest thing to do all the time. That comes with practice. Tactics are you make that quick decision and you make it work in the moment. Okay? A good example was your takedown. The tactics were not perfect, but over here you made a tactical decision based on what was going on and you made it work. Those are tactics, and that's what has to be drilled over and over and over again. Okay, my medical crew, you're gonna have to experience the same thing with critical incident. You're gonna have to do triage when the shooting stops. Okay, you're gonna have to not be doing medical if the shooting is active. Okay, which is something very difficult for my medical staff to realize, especially my doctors, my nurses. If you have any combat medics, I would try to get them on board as quickly as possible because that's what they deal with. That's their bread and butter.
World War II combat.
Hey, whatever. They've got the mindset. I mean, if they've got good mobility still and they can throw a Cat 2 tourniquet on, use them because those guys have been there, done that, and they've already got the mindset. Okay. For my medical staff, realize that your primary responsibility, and my security staff as well, your primary responsibility is your personal safety first, right? You can't be treating a gunshot wound in your casualty collection point if you're one of the casualties trying to get to the casualty collection point. Okay. Now, we're going to run another scenario. But before we do that, are there questions so far?
Word change team.
Yes. Okay. My other guys, do you guys have any questions? Anything?
And I would like to see, that's one right, we're so good on the team. I'm military, he's ex-police. I want to see, because I've not been trained in good restraints. I'd like to see restraints done properly.
Ooh, we can do that. All right.
I'm military trained. We just stop the threat.
And so the military mindset here is what I want you guys to keep in mind. We're going to stop the threat. Okay? De-escalation only comes when the suspect or the terrorist is disarmed. Okay? So my security guys, go ahead and
Where's your gun?
up.
Here we go.
Oh. They don't have to worry about anything until there's some point where everybody says, okay,
Yeah, she went to the
procedure's done, and we're all going to go here because we're hurt or whatever.
When there is no longer, so now we're talking about tactical combat casualty care. Okay, so this is going to be directly integrated with the security team. Once the security team has secured an area and there's no longer active gunfire, now we're going to what we call a warm zone. Okay. Now the warm zone can change if there's another active shooter on the premises. Maybe they're working in concert. Okay. But if there is no active shooting, and the security team has kind of created or has a controllable perimeter, say maybe they've locked down the doors or done whatever, and law enforcement and EMS are on the way. Now tactical combat casualty care can start to take place, and that's usually going to be a quick triage assessment and then a tourniquet. Right? Control the bleeding, and then security staff and whoever else is still in the room will start to move. We'll start to move those patients to a collection point where you can start to do more in-depth casualty care.
Do we keep the congregation in here, or does ushers take them outside?
Okay.
So,
are you going to set up a scenario?
I'm going to set up the scenario, and then
we'll go back.
We'll get back to that because that is an excellent question.
So don't forget that question.
Okay.
Okay. Let's set our.
So, let me have. You're going to be my shooter this time.
Yeah,
I think everyone will believe that too. Actually.
I'm sorry, Jennifer. I'm sorry. Have I ever done it?
Okay.
Is there other security officers? Who else is this?
So you're going to hide that. And okay, so now the scenario. Okay, she's going to come in. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So if you have a official capacity, go ahead and fill that space. Well, actually, you all have an official capacity. That's why you're over here.
We want a few ushers.
Yeah. Give me just one or two ushers, and then the rest of you are going to be bystanders. Okay. Now, this time my shooter's going to come in, and your goal is to shoot as many people in the congregation as you can.
Well, you just let us know that.
Well, you guys know that.
But we're going to react different this time. It's not going to be that scenario that.
That's it. It's okay. It'll evolve. I'm not worried about it. Okay. Okay. Now, when she goes bang and she points at you, you behave as if you have been shot. Okay. And be loud, scream. Everyone else, if you haven't been hit, either run, hide, but don't fight. Okay? So you can, I'm totally down with you guys sitting there, or ducking behind a chair, or trying to run around and create some havoc for the security people. Okay?
So where am I coming from?
You're going to be sitting in the back row. Okay.
Eric, just curious, in that scenario, if she would pop up and start charging and people sitting on the edge would see her with the gun, would you never try and tackle her, never try and disarm her? Or, I don't know about you, but just a normal person, would you say, when I say normal, you're trained, but as far as untrained
there is
people?
no normality.
This is actually a very hot debate.
Yeah.
What government will, what like Homeland Security will tell you is don't engage the shooter. What a lot of other security people will tell you is engage the shooter. And we're going to talk about that after this scenario. So I'm glad you guys are bringing this up because this is all really good, very important information. Okay. Again, I'm not going to give you guys answers because there are a million different answers, and not one of them is necessarily right or wrong. Yes.
And then also when it's the mindset, like you're talking about, the mindset of a female, don't ever think, like people will think, oh, it's a female shooter versus a male shooter. You don't want to ever think like that.
Why do I think I have you as my shooter?
You don't want to underestimate that you can jump on a female.
Especially when they're,
You might not be, and that's where the security will. That's where like security over here or security over here will come into play. Or again, I love to somebody up here, right? Presuming that they could, they can play with the ivories as well as keep an eye out. But another idea that might not be so bad, I don't know if you do this, but having a calling gesture or a keyword that will notify security that you see something, because you also see everything that's going on potentially.
Hot water.
Food, right?
Yeah, that would be good. Sometimes it's because we keep it darker in here. There's lights. Sometimes it is a little hard to see from up here. But when the house lights are down and the spotlights are on, it's a little tricky. But not, I probably see better than everybody else.
So it could be something.
But it's quite dark back here.
Use the mic.
You know what? I like what he just said, and we can put that in real quick. No matter what you're preaching on, you can say, and John the Baptist was in real hot water, because you never used that. And hot water to us is you see something, be alert. Yeah. I mean, that's a good one. Right? I haven't heard you say hot water, but it's anyway.
Done.
All right.
Throw that in, talk about it, throw that in.
So John the Baptist had an AK-47.
That would be me.
We are not security. We're just
Correct.
So we won't be involved.
Okay. So again, I'm going to bring in the security team. They're going to position themselves where they would be during normal service. Okay. And then he's going to start his sermon. Okay. Whenever you're ready, you're going to come up and you can start yelling rhetoric if you want. Be kind of loud because there's not going to be any boom going on, and you're just going to bang, 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 bang. You're just going to start picking people. Okay? If you get picked, be wounded. Okay? Once you see somebody's wounded as a bystander, save yourself. Okay?
Do you want the people to scream or?
Yeah, scream, lie on the ground.
You said no headshot?
No headshot. See what I mean? That's why I have her as a shooter.
I'm trying to plan my attack here.
And do that. Plan your attack. So also, you guys understand when if a shooter walks into the room, they're going to sit in the back and they're going to do exactly what she's doing right now. She's planning her attack.
And let's go ahead and hit it because I want to give the pastors at least 10 minutes, and we're supposed to close at 12.
Oh, okay.
We'll run a little over. I hope people don't mind, but let's get it.
We're all falling asleep during the sermon, right?
Somebody yells gun and you go, what?
We'll be here.
Okay?
Okay. Preach away.
Preach away.
I'll pick it up in verse 3. Surely he shall deliver me from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler.
You hit
Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Nice! Good! Good! Time!
She got it.
She's delusional. She's laughing. Man, you were on it.
I didn't even realize they were already on me because I'm like, who can I shoot next?
They were probably like, I bet she has the gun. I think that's what happened there.
Did she get a few shots off?
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I think I got one too.
Right in the back.
Get up, Grabowski.
She shot you?
I'm sitting there, she's like right there, like, all right.
So, these guys were on it, right? I mean, they were. I don't even think he stopped. I think he just flew over everybody, landed, and then shot her.
I'm not sure how much.
Yeah, right. Now, even with this scenario where we don't even have the sound, okay, and I would love to be able to bring in cap guns for this, but or something that goes boom. But even with that, just a pandemonium of everybody else, people started moving without even necessarily knowing what was going on, right? Also, not a bad thing. Okay, your security team was on it. They were on it. You didn't even hesitate pulling the trigger, did you? Nope. The biggest security concern that he has is what we call a fourth firearm safety rule. Okay? And that is know your target and what is beyond it. Okay? Now this is really for my gunslingers. Okay? Because you have got to be sure that you're going to make your shot. Because if you don't, where's that shot going to go? Then all of a sudden our nurses and stuff are going to have another problem that they're going to have to deal with. Right? He waited until he had a sure shot, and then he was on it. Okay? This is a gamble that has got to be made. Because the longer it takes for security to get to the threat, the longer the threat has to pull the trigger. This is an unfortunate gamble. Right? I wouldn't take the shot from over there. I'm pretty decent with a pistol. I wouldn't do it. I think you were right on the money. He shot right through, came in within about 3 feet, and then took care of the immediate danger. Excellent. He even went to detain the suspect after the suspect had been shot. Right on the money. Right on the money. Everyone else was evacuated. People hit the ground, started going behind the chairs. I think some people have made it. Some people made it to the door. Parking lot. You made it to the parking lot? You were in your car like, oh, I can go back.
My wife made it to the parking lot.
That was brilliant. Okay? Did you notice a difference between the first scenario and this scenario in terms of everyone's reaction? Much more coordinated. Okay? And the event was less of a surprise. I mean, granted, like, you guys knew what was going on. But even though in the scenario you knew what was going on, you didn't know what was unfolding during the scenario. Right? So still a lot of that reaction was the same. I didn't see, what did you guys do?
I yelled gun, and we both made it down the stairs or pretty far.
We're exiting the building, but we just got away to the behind.
Awesome. So you took care of your principal and got him out. I just blinked and the security team was already on him. So I totally missed what you guys did. So and the fact that you were able to take your principal out of the equation is really, really important. Okay? Because that's also paving the way for other people to follow your lead. Okay?
If we go out the side door.
If you go out the side door, the second that your congregants see you start to move, they're going to follow you. And it might not even necessarily be a conscious reflex. They're going to be like, I'm going with that guy. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So it's going to give them direction. Okay? So I mean, talk about being the shepherd. This is literally the moment where people don't know what to do. So they're looking for somebody and something for guidance. You're probably the most trusted person in the room. While security is doing their job. So that was excellent. Now, the questions about this so far.
Yes.
Yes.
If he's not up there and somebody comes up and is looking for him and the stage is covered with our singers and our band and stuff, is he supposed to come and just protect him, or is he supposed to scream at them to get down? What are the rest of everybody going to do when he's not on the stage and this goes down?
Well,
so usually I'm up here and Aaron or Richard are close by here, and so if somebody would come up when we're standing there and try and attack or come up and...
Our speaker protection officer is trained to be anywhere they are. If they're in the foyer or wherever, and even after the service, they follow them until they are released.
Yeah.
Anybody.
What about the whole
Anybody.
rest of the
When we have a guest speaker, I come up and I say, "Hi, I'm Board Chief of Security," and I introduce. This is your security officer. If anything should happen, follow him, and he cannot be released until you release him. So they'll follow him wherever they go. No matter where they are, they always know where they need to get them. So they're That's what they're trained to do. That's their sole job is to protect whoever the speaker is.
Your Honor, are you asking if some just crazy would want to just start shooting at the choir? What? And
the same scenario for us.
Yeah.
Well, most likely, I mean, over the years of experience, if they're going to be shooting at the choir, they're shooting at everybody.
At everybody.
Yeah. The main person is Pastor Mike, because he does the counseling. People, he's the one that they look at. So.
And truthfully, I don't know about this, but I think Greg's the same way. We didn't even look at the pastor. That's not our job.
Okay.
That's my
Our
job.
job is right there, his job. So I didn't even look to see something else. My job is here.
Yeah, so
his job is there.
Their security, they're basically like their security perimeter includes the stage. His security perimeter is the main speaker usually.
So Eric, wouldn't you say like, if somebody had a beef with somebody in the worship team and just wanted to make a big deal out of hurting somebody here or anywhere, that those things are a little bit difficult to control, right? I mean,
they are.
Because you'd still have a suspicious person, maybe you'd still have, but if there was a domestic dispute going on with somebody on the platform and somebody wants to make a spectacle about hurting them, or that'd be a little tough to do, but I guess it would be tough to control.
Yes, and it would still fall under the purview, and that scenario would unfold in a very similar fashion to the first scenario that we did, where he just kind of started ripping right through the crowd and was just hard focused on you. So with a scenario like that, the downside is it unfolds a lot faster because it's very direction oriented. Right, they're making that beeline, but the good news with that is they're also experiencing that tunnel vision as well. They don't care about the environment around them, right? So in a way, for the congregants, it's a bit safer. For that one person, it's not. The detention will probably take longer because they're moving faster, so the response time will be a little bit less. But the overall risk factor is much, much less, if that makes sense, okay? As tragic as that is. Now, here comes the big question, okay? And it was asked earlier. What is the congregant's role in an active shooter? And this is a big debate with dealing with active shooter right now, okay? What do you think? Should you fight or should you run?
Fight's the last. Every situation depends where you're at. If you're over there, you're going to run. If you're right here, Dave, if they walk past you.
You got a lot of families here, though, and most parents are going to try to defend their spouse and their kids. So they're going to essentially jump us.
It will very much depend on the pathology of the individual. Okay. Most Americans will run away from danger. Okay. So typically in the United States and in most countries in Europe, when they're talking about a mass casualty, they talk about run, hide, fight in that order. I don't want you to think about this in terms of a linear progression, though, because it doesn't work like that. Your tactics will definitely dictate based on your mindset. The Israelis, for example, they do not teach run, hide, fight. They teach fight. Okay, but simply because almost everyone in that country has served in the military, so their mindset, their pathology is very different when it comes to a terrorist action. Right? They're just kind of been there, done that. Okay, so that decision, while tactically I like it, I would prefer a group neutralize an active shooter. The counter argument to that, though, is that if a group engages an active shooter, people in that group are going to be shot. Okay.
People in the group are being shot anyway.
People in the group are being shot anyway. People in the group are dying anyway. They may not be dead, but the faster you neutralize that active shooter, the faster the security team can create their perimeter, the faster the medical team can come in and start to do combat casualty care, and the faster lives can be saved. Okay? I have not seen any statistic that shows that there will be more casualties if you engage an active shooter as a group, not as individuals, but as a group. And this is really important. It's not a bunch of individuals coming up to pat the active shooter on the back or punch him in the face. It's a group mobbing an active shooter using field expedient weapons. Now, what I mean by a field expedient weapon is anything that will disrupt the chain of thinking of the active shooter and distract them and break that tunnel vision. Okay? And that can be something as simple as a water bottle. Okay? It can be a rolled up newspaper or a rolled up magazine for people that actually still read those. Okay? You can take your cell phone, huck it in their face. Purses are brilliant, actually, because those things weigh like 40 tons. Okay?
Yours.
People are taking out the legs, people are taking out the arms, people are controlling the gun. There is a technical way to do it that takes a little bit of practice and coordination, but not a lot. Okay? Especially in a confined environment like this, where it's going to take security, you guys were on it, and it took you, about 3 to 5 seconds? Okay? So I want you to think about it. Hey, 3 to 5 seconds, that's almost a full magazine of ammunition that has been dispensed. If they're really on the trigger. Bang, 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 bang. That was about 5 seconds, roughly. Right? Okay? Now there are arguments for, wait till the suspect reloads, blah, 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 blah.
Not my team.
No. Okay? If you're going to engage a suspect, use superior force and violence and neutralize the suspect. Your mindset will save your life and the life of the people next to you. And that's the bottom line. Irrelevant if we're talking about our ushers, our security staff that's armed. Okay? Everyone in here is part of the security team. You are all in here to protect each other.
And if I could interject, that's one reason why I want to hear people holler, get down or whatever, because they're expecting you to do nothing. And the minute you start a commotion, it gets their mind, it gets their eyes and attention off of what we're going to do. I'm like, I didn't hear it because I was doing my thing. So by you guys doing your thing, by you guys getting the congregation to throw confusion into the person, it helps us.
Okay. And you will delay their cognitive process to pick targets. Okay. That would be awesome. Basically, my take on this, personally, is do not allow yourself to be a victim. Do not allow the person next to you to be a victim. Okay? Be proactive. Be aggressive. Okay? You will be scared out of your mind. And that is okay. Okay? But if you develop the reflex of that gun call, gun, 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 instead of going, where am I going to go? It's gun, gun, gun. Where is it? Okay? Knowledge and mindset is what saves your life. And my cops and my correction guys and my military guys that have been there, done that, will attest to this. Okay? For my cops and my military guys, do you remember counter ambush drills? Okay? Counter ambush drills, if we're on a patrol and somebody starts popping off rounds, we don't run away from the rounds. That's the way we get shot. Okay? We turn, we find where the threat is, and we engage through it. Yeah. Up to, 500 yards? It's ridiculous. It's crazy. But that's actually what is going to save our life and the people next to us. Amen. Okay? Is that counter ambush. So for me, I'm a strong advocate of engaging the immediate threat. All my training, all my experience tells me engage the immediate threat. Don't run from the problem because bullets can run faster than you. Okay? Get on the inside of that weapon system, neutralize the suspect, dump them on the ground, then let the security team deal with it. Because if you guys are all an active part of that team, okay, then you're saving everyone else's life around you. And the reality is, if you get shot, and an active shooter, let's assume that you're going to get shot. You know what your survivability rate is if this active shooter gets neutralized very quickly? 98%. 98% of people that get shot in a combat environment survive. That's pretty darn good. But the longer that this situation is protracted, the less likelihood it is that you're going to survive unscathed. You already have awesome medical personnel here. You might as well use them as quickly and aggressively as possible along with your security team. That's my opinion. That kind of answer the question? My nice little tirade there about whether or not to engage.
Well, I just, I mean, like the people that were running, if they're on that side away from the shooter and they can't really engage anyway, going out the side door. But if he's running down the center aisle and there's people sitting on the aisles that could stop or grab an arm or
if you can get to the shooter within like two steps or so, then get to the shooter. If you can't, then go the other way. But create a distraction, create a problem for the shooter, not for the security staff.
Eric, maybe this scenario is, but if you did engage the shooter, is there some place to punch, kick, hit that's more effective? I mean, you're trained in martial arts. I haven't been in a fist fight since high school or college, but
That's not what Jan said.
So that's an excellent question. What type of techniques will we use? And I don't want you to think in terms of striking in this case. If you can, throw elbows, cool. But it's really going to be development and control, right? People are taking out their legs, taking out their arms. Okay, it's basically a cell abstraction for my COs. I mean, you're just going to dogpile on top of this person and then control that weapon.
Okay. And that's one thing I told Pastor. But the first scenario when he came off the side, they didn't put him on the ground. That's why it was able to get.
Yeah.
You got to get him on the ground.
Thanks for not doing that, Eric.
What?
Thanks for not doing that.
Well, I wasn't there.
That's true. He was there. He was like, we're out of here.
But even here, I stopped.
Can we do that real quick?
Sure.
Okay. Pastor Richard, you don't mind getting on the ground, right? Okay, Pastor Richard, come up, do that again, and would you restrain him?
You understand? I don't think so.
You don't
Just because I drugged you down the hall here.
Just put your fingers out.
What are we doing?
He's going to restrain you. You get up here. You get up here, and then you put your gun down, and he's going to restrain you properly.
Oh, okay. So my gun's down.
Yeah.
And I'm on the ground.
He'll tell you what to do. He's going to give you the orders.
No, you don't get. Get out! We're not giving an order,
Okay, there you
right?
go. Yeah.
Well, it's
Okay.
you had an arm technique. You were pushing.
So this is our policeman.
But we're not going to sit unless you put the gun on him and the gun's away. But if you had the gun on him, right?
I would.
If he had the gun in,
if he still has a gun, I'd.
No, you want to get the gun out of his hand.
Right.
But if I didn't have a gun,
and then from there it's going to be verbals.
So
right?
one thing about for the church, something that concerns me is so you guys are all trained, and all of a sudden here's a church member right in the middle of the mix. That I don't know if you're trained in this or not, or could he get hurt or shot? And that's one of my concerns. So that'd be
So let's say this scenario. So
we didn't know if you still had the gun or
I'll
not.
take
But if he's right here,
That's trained. I think only somebody that's trained would come up personally.
So let's assume though.
We want you down. That's all.
So let's assume. So first of all,
does he have the gun or not?
Weapon's been dropped.
Okay.
Okay. Now the weapon is dropped not by physical contact. Okay. The weapon is dropped by verbal confrontation. Right. Drop your weapon. Drop it now. Put the gun down. Your weapon is drawn. Fingers still extended. Right. But you're ready to take that next step. Pew pew pew. Okay. Suspect drops the weapon. Okay, and then you start giving them verbals. I still wouldn't necessarily go hands-on, especially if your weapon is out, guys. If your weapon is out, do not touch a suspect.
Nope.
Ever.
Yeah, he can take control.
Okay? My philosophy is, if I can touch your gun, I can take it.
Yeah.
Okay? And a bad guy's philosophy is exactly the same way. You have a cover officer you have a cover security personnel for a reason. Okay? They will maintain lethal force while you transition. Okay? You only detain or handcuff a suspect that is already compliant. Okay?
Send her out.
So notice he called it in. He called it position. Okay? What you need to do is you need to put the suspect in a position where they're least likely to resist. So in this case, he has a suspect on his knees. Okay? Depending on what type of cuffing methodology he's going to use, his hands are either going to be behind his head or behind his back.
Go ahead and pull your gun.
Okay, so for this one, don't just let these two. Your professionals aren't here.
Okay, go ahead and place your hands behind your back. Palms facing each other. Oh, you want to resist, huh?
Punch him in the face, Ruben. I'll be good with your knee. I'll be good with my shoulder.
Go ahead and fight.
Is that red dot on me, Jeff?
I got a partner standing behind you.
Oh.
Take his ear out.
Be careful with your shoulder.
Yeah, let's not hurt him today.
Yeah.
We need him tomorrow morning.
That's good enough.
So,
Okay.
so you guys realize
Grab me
that,
this wallet real quick.
His wallet.
so you guys, when it comes to arrest control,
Can make him pay for it?
you guys, when it comes to arrest control, realize that out of 5 weeks of training in a basic police academy, basic police recruits get 75 to 80 hours of arrest and control time. Okay? A majority of less than 8 hours are spent on combatants in actual fighting.
No, I left it home.
The rest is actually dedicated just to this. Okay? And still, when recruits come out of a police academy, they still suck at hooking people. Okay? So realize that dealing with handcuffs or quick cuffs, it's an art form all unto itself. Okay? And frankly, my COs and stuff, correct me if I'm wrong, there's not a good way to do it. I've never seen a way that is risk adverse to putting handcuffs on somebody.
Get them on as fast as you can.
You get them on as fast as you can, okay, and you put but you guys, the thing with this is you have to put the suspect in a position of disadvantage.
On the ground.
Okay?
On the ground.
I like dumping somebody. I'd rather have them face down on the ground where I can control as much of them as humanly possible. Sometimes it's not possible. Right? Actually, where you detained him, you would have probably had him in a kneeling position because he was slammed up against the stage. Right?
Okay. I really thank you.
My pleasure.
This has been fantastic. I want to give our pastors, but I want to thank you for your questions. But first of all, I want to give our pastors a moment to comment and things like that. So, Pastor Mike, Pastor Richard,
Thanks, man.
the floor is yours at this moment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody, for coming.
Pastor Richard, go. I'm here. Oh.
Yeah.
Don't forget to sign up for
Yeah.
Carl McGraw.
I want to. Right. I want to thank Gordon and Greg Payne for all the work you guys put into this too. It's just a great intensive manual. All the time that's been gone into that.
And this video will be available by next week.
Okay.
To watch. And
are you going to
people
post it
that
up with
weren't
a
here-
link so we can?
Yes, you'll
refer
have it on your
Okay.
link so that and people that weren't here will get to watch it.
Yeah.
Question about that. Instead of a link where anybody can get to it, should just be sent to the guys to send to their people?
Yeah, we could probably do that. We'll figure out how to
It would be
distribute
good
that.
for congregation to see it.
Yeah, sometime we're gonna have to bridge this
Congregation
gap.
needs to see it. Everybody should go up and see it.
Yeah, that
And it
would
will
be
be
good.
available, because it'll be available on my site also.
My office, see it, know where people are.
Yeah, it'll get us some younger recruits, like you say. Where's our young people who are supposed to be taking the church over?
Yeah.
We're talking about retirement. None of them are here. My point. Rest my case. Go ahead, Pastor Mike.
Is sure that knows who our conciliatory people are.
Okay.
And what our church is going to do.
Questions and answers afterwards. Let the pastor do this, and then we're going to open it up for Islam. So.
Well, Dave, are you talking about the next step, like as far as informing the whole congregation?
To the team. I don't think it should be on the website where anybody can see what we're going to do as far as where our conciliatory are, what our plans are.
You don't want to tip your hand to. So we'll probably distribute it through email or.
It'll be
through our
available on
department
my
head,
site
you know.
to everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, thank you for all the work put into this. And, you know, how many felt their adrenaline up a little bit, testosterone up a little bit? Like, this is a whole different realm. Usually on a Sunday morning, our eyes are closed. We're in a different place. And so to bring this in and produce this, I know for many of us, it's like another reality, but I really firmly believe, especially the pastors groups I'm in, the association we're licensed and covered by, these kind of things are being brought up, unfortunately, more often because of the environment we're in and just the things that have escalated in the culture. And so being prepared is huge. Being ready is huge. Being fearful is not beneficial. So we're not doing it to try and spread fear, just an awareness, right? Because we still want this place to be a place where you feel secure and safe, and that's a reason we're doing it too. Not to have to fear being in public settings or staying home to watch it video stream because you're concerned about scenarios happening in church, but just to be aware, to be alert, to keep our eyes open, ears open. We're protecting not only our team here, but we got children on campus and that. And so in 31 years, there's probably been maybe 2 handfuls of times where, we've had the sheriff out here, the police out here, where we've had to do any kind of restraints or even talking to somebody about ulterior motives. It's been very, 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 very rare, but we still need to be prepared for it. And so thank you for being here and listening and taking heed and helping. And I don't know, Pastor Richard, if you got anything to add to that, but come on up.
Well, I just want to echo the appreciation for Gordon and for Greg. And when we started this thing a few years ago, we called it a work in progress, and I think you brought us up to another level of what we're doing. And so,
and the red in your manual is all things that were changed. That'll be back black, but when you see red in there, that was things that were changed. This meeting this year, that's the 2017 version.
And Eric, I want to thank you for the opportunity to shoot at my pastor. Years of aggression kind of came out there.
You feel better now?
I do. Honestly, I heard nothing around me until Eric grabbed my arm and how that happened. But I was going to share this. We're actually talking about weapons and shoot, but we do have a weapon that is carnal. Gordon announced that. Weapons are not carnal, for my pull down strongholds. So we ask everybody that's serving to be in pre-service prayer. And to be praying, be prayed up, be looking for situations, and I'll just share one that happened. Maybe this was 3 or 4 months ago. Pastor Mark, you weren't here, but this guy came in and I profiled him. He's sitting over here, he's by himself, he's agitating, he's kind of moving around. I grabbed Gordon and I said, I don't know what's going on, but let's just watch this guy. I think we grabbed the head usher, let the usher know. I don't even know when he moved over there, Jordan, I'm not sure, do you remember? And through the service, I think there was a guest speaker. I just kept praying. And so towards the end of the service, I went up and I said, hey, I introduced him, well, how are you doing? What's going on? He goes, man, I really need prayer. And the guy came in because he had a deep, deep need and a deep hurt. And so I believe sometimes you just got to be careful, as cautious, or mindful of those things as well. He didn't come for harm. He came to get set free. Yeah. So thank you guys all for just coming today and helping me be part of this. And I don't know, department heads, if you guys still want to break out when we're done, if you want me to the department, we're already noon, but again, thank you, Gordon.
Yeah, and Dave, come on up and ask your question. We'll get that on mic too. Right now, it's 12 o'clock. You guys are free, but we're going to be here for at least another 10 minutes or so for questions and answers, and we do want to answer questions. But I want to really thank our pastors too, that they have the foresight to have protection, because there is a lot going on, and there's some things that the pastors don't even know that go on here, because we settle it early. Because I'll tell you, we've had many incidences, and we've had, because we are a hospital here, we have drug people that come in, we've had ODs, we've had a lot of different things, but they've all been taken care of without the congregation knowing it, and that's why I love my team.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say it was at New Life, probably 2 years ago at New Life, a guy showed up in the lobby with a hatchet in one hand and a machete in the other hand before a service.
And those of you that have a weapon, come and get it.
At Grace Church here in town, first Good Friday service a couple of years ago, a person came in, totally disruptive. And so it happens a little in the community, and so it's not, it's not an impossible scenario that we can have things escalate. So let's just be ready to be praying. Is it okay if I pray? Close us in prayer.
Yes.
And then we'll open. Father, thank you so much for our team. Thank you for having Eric with us and just the preparedness of the departments that have put so much effort into this. And Lord, I was reading out of Psalm 91, and we just trust that and believe that around here, that you are a protector, that you're a helper, you're a deliverer, but you're also the one that gives us an awakening. You're also the one that gives us discernment. And so we thank you for that around here, that people be protected and safe and could grow spiritually, get help spiritually. And thank you for the partnership that keeps that happening, and for your guidance and your intervention. And we just give you praise for our church and what you want to do with us and through us in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Thanks everybody for investing your time this Saturday. And
yeah, Eric, my question was, we take something down 2 or 3 seconds, or 5 seconds. It's the usher's job then to bring people outside the church, or you want to get inside, get something else outside that's with this person?
That is an excellent question. And a lot of that is going to be based on what your security team outside is seeing. I prefer the idea of you're going to have a casualty collection point already. That might as well also facilitate an evacuation point, because then security will know how to branch off and exactly where they're going to go to. And then you can account for exactly who's where, what, where, who, where, when, and how. So once the situation has been controlled, then yeah, I advocate for that collection area where everyone can make sure that everyone's okay, and if they're not okay, we'll give them the treatment that they need from the medical staff.
So, Eric, a question too, in a single shooter scenario, it's often over pretty quick, but would it be helpful if people were going out the doors that they would leave doors open or pull windows open? Because we usually keep it light controlled in here with blinds down and things like that, but nobody from the outside could see it, and no tactical forces could really get a visual on what they're coming into. Is there
definitely open if people are scrambling out of as many doorways as they can? That's a good call, because if there is another shooter out there, you're minimizing the threat possibility or the target possibility. Right? You're essentially diffusing
Hi,
the
welcome
population.
to Agape Church. My name is Lauren. We just have a couple of
if we had to take this guy out,
First off,
they were coming
today,
in. They were coming in. Would they be able to? I don't know, see or how? I don't know what's.
Do we also allow people to leave the church property, or they all stay until the sheriff's release?
We can't. I don't think we can control that.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be able to. That would take a monumental security force.
Yeah.
Ideally, yes, because then you can account for everyone, so that you guys even started PTSD right away and medical right away, and you can account for all your conference right away.
Go away.
But it's an excellent question.
I also think if you asked the question before, but should we have
And if
the
you're just talking,
windows
if you go out before you, that would be a
should we have blinds up or should we open?
You know, I don't. You guys obviously have a way that you like to run your service.
Well, we do because of the lights and the video and all that. Sometimes we keep it. These rectangular or the square lights aren't on. It's just pretty low lighting in here most of the time.
And the police are used to dealing with that, but the important thing the police need to know is we have armed security in here.
But should part of the protocol be opening those blinds if there's a problem?
If people are rushing out.
Once it's secured, you know, like maybe your ushers
when you've got that person down,
when and the security team has said, okay, we've got a controlled perimeter, right? That's when the medical team comes into action. They start dealing with the wounded, you know, and then your ushers can start opening up doors and opening up windows, you know, presuming that there's not a secondary contact outside.
And the ushers are supposed to meet the police people and bring them in.
But if there was still something going on when the SWAT showed up, it should be over.
It should be over. It's going to take them 10 to 20 minutes to get in.
And you guys realize you're not going to get SWAT guys. You're going to get your standard patrol guy who's coming, and if you're lucky, they're going to be somebody that's on the SWAT team that's going to come in. And you guys are lucky. The SCD team is actually very, very good. And with active shooter, you're probably going to get SLO PD responding to, and Cuesta PD or Cal Poly PD, maybe even Cuesta PD. Right? It's gonna go over every police band in the area. So you guys are going to count.
That's where our team worries, because San Luis PD is not worried about police.
Do all your guys have badges? And the other guys have badges?
All of our guys have badges. I don't know if they all wear it around their neck. I'm going to talk about that because I do think that is a good thing because a cop doesn't shoot a badge.
Yeah, but when you flip that out, does the badge show up or does the white side show up? If the other side shows up, you're not going to take time to turn it around.
No, but.
Well, I'm not going to pull it out until it's over with either. My first thing is not pulling my badge out because I know it's going to take the cops time to get here, but as soon as I possibly can, then I'm going to pull it out. Everyone has a badge because they're either retired cops or they're like myself can still carry, and they can carry it. So I don't know if Grant has one or not. If he doesn't, I can get him one. You definitely want that because cops don't shoot badges. They ask questions first.
Yeah,
Unless you point a gun at them.
They don't know what it is, but they won't shoot it.
No. And I don't want to get shot, so I want bright, shiny, best place I can have it.
All right. Thank
Cool.
you, sir.
My pleasure.
Good stuff.
My pleasure. Thank you guys for sticking around.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Really
All right, thank you.